6:35 PM. At this time, I'm calling the meeting to order. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, Cindy, could you please call roll call again?
Member Bransky? Here. Member Blanky? Present. Mayor Carnegie?
Here.
Member Kulka?
Here.
Member Lesich?
Here.
Member Shornack?
Here.
And Mayor Pro Tem Winowicki.
Here. At this time, I would entertain item 4, approval of the agenda, unless there's any amendments at this time.
Oh, I do have an amendment.
Okay.
Which one is it? H. Nope, no, take that back. G. I would like to postpone the interim public safety director. I feel that we don't have enough information from all the testing and everything that went on to make that decision at this time. At least I feel I don't.
So we do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a second? Any comments and questions on that motion?
When would, I do have a question. When would we be bringing that back? Because
Next month.
Fairly clear under Act 78. So,
Next month when we receive the information that we had asked for prior with all the stuff we were asking for last time.
okay.
So I would say next month.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, I have another one. Sure my mic's on. 7F, the packet is, in what I interpreted, was actually two separate proposals. There's the in-car cameras, and then the second proposal is the body cam cameras. And I'm wondering if we should separate that, or at least add in that, make it two separate discussions.
We could do that. We could actually make it FA and FB, or F1 and F2 if you want.
Or you can just move that to G, F and G, since we're postponing G.
Or we can leave F as body camera, and how about G, the car cameras? You
Okay.
good with that, Dave?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I have another question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
On 7G, is there any particular information that we are waiting for that?
We didn't get any testing results from the whole exam, and
Okay, who would we be receiving that information from?
Yes. You'll get it from Elaine.
Okay, so that's what we're waiting for in order to make an informed decision.
Yep, that, and also I'd like to see actually a plan of the process.
Okay,
I think it's very important, so everyone understands that process going
thank you
forward.
for clarifying, appreciate it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't hear what you said.
Just the results of the test
Right,
results.
okay.
So we'll have those right away from Elaine, but then my comment was about making sure we know the process going forward.
Correct, yeah, right, given,
Thorough, pinpoint, published process.
okay.
consistency.
Yes. Got it. Do it the right way the first time. Any other
Right.
comments or questions? Suzanne?
Yes. So for 6A, the city council minutes under the consent agenda, it's been brought to my attention that the meeting minutes from August 8th of 2021 does not reflect minutes. So we need to approve that subject to the amendment that the actual document that's within our packet will be amended to say Fraser City Council regular in-person and virtual meeting minutes for Thursday, August 8th, 2021 at 6:30 PM.
Okay. We'll add that.
But we're still on the agenda.
Right. We're just making a note, that way when it comes to that. we'll-
Got it, okay. I just didn't,
Yep.
I blanked out for a minute, so I wasn't sure if we,
But I wasn't sure either, because if you approve the agenda, are you approving all of it, or what are you approving?
then when we go.
Changes. We can go back to this when we come to a consent agenda.
Fair enough.
Okay, any other questions? I see none. All in favor of the amendments?
Yes.
Aye.
Any- yeah,
Howard has me paranoid about what we're supposed to say.
Any opposed?
I didn't vote, but aye. I
Motion carries. Now I would like a motion on the amended agenda.
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. At this time, a citizen participation on agenda items only. If you won't be here for the entire length of the meeting and can't stay for the agenda item, now is the time to speak up if you'd like to at this time. And I'm virtual also. Eric, do you have anybody? Okay. Okay. And none on the, in City Hall, so at this time, I'll bring it back to the chair. Item 6, consent agenda. Suzanne, go ahead.
Sure. Item 6A, I think we need a motion to amend the city council minutes for August 12th of 2021, because the actual meeting minutes that we received in our packet do not reflect that those are the meeting minutes. So we need a motion that basically says that the city council minutes of August 12th of 2021 should be amended to reflect in our packet the word minutes, because it's not added.
Okay, so that is your motion?
Yeah, that's my motion. It's not very, very well worded, but it's my motion.
Mr. Denault,
I was just going to say, if it helps and it's cleaner, the motion could be to approve the consent agenda with the minutes amended to reflect that they are the minutes of the meeting.
I appreciate that. I almost said strike that too, and I had to stop myself, but whatever, I just kept going. Fair enough.
I'd second that.
so we do have a motion and a second. After clarification, any comments or questions on the motion? Any comments or questions from the audience? Virtual audience?
I have another clarification that Mr. Winowicki just pointed out. The actual document in our packet says Fraser City Council regular in-person and virtual meeting Thursday, August 8th, but yet in the next paragraph, it reflects the regular in-person and virtual meeting for August 12th of 2021. So it should be August 12th of 2021, not August 8th of 2021, in addition to making sure that that document says minutes. So I need to amend my motion to add the change that should reflect August 12th, 2021 throughout the document that is in our packet for the meeting minutes for that same day.
So we have amended motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second. Any comments and questions on that motion? Any comments and questions from the audience? Virtual? See none? Bring it back to council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, Suzanne. Request for council action, item A, food truck rally.
Did we approve the consent?
We need to
Oh, yeah, we have to do consent first.
as amended.
Okay. Go ahead, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved?
Second.
Moved. Any comments and questions on the motion? Ms. Blanky?
Thank you. Within the consent agenda, there's an item here, 6C, and that's sort of a tradition here. We are allowing and confirming and appreciating the Fraser High School Homecoming Parade, which will be coming up in a couple weeks. So since we didn't mention it, I just wanted everyone to know that that's what we did within this consent agenda. Thank you.
Which is October 1st, I believe.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike. October 1st, Friday.
Okay.
Stop.
My last one.
So So we did have a motion and a second on the amendment of the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 7A, food truck rally. Ms. Levin, would you like to start us off with the food truck rally?
I have a proposal before you that has been provided from the chair of the Recreation Commission for a food truck rally to take place in the city on Saturday, the 18th of September. The event is planned for 4 hours from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Stephens Park. They have provided a lot of the detail for the event in the memo that you received, and we also have Chris Cook in attendance here at the meeting, and she can answer any other questions that you might have regarding it.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for attending.
You're welcome. My name is Chris Cook. I live at 32323 Oxford Court. I am kind of in charge of the food truck rally, or I came up with the vision, so if you have any questions, please let me, I will try to answer them. If not, Vincent should be on a Zoom call to answer anything I can't answer.
Why don't you just give everybody a quick synopsis
Okay,
of the event?
so my vision for this food truck rally was to have it at Stephens Park. It started off small, and it kind of got big, but it's okay. I'm okay with this. I've kind of worked out a lot of details over the last couple of days. We're going to hold the food truck rally in the back part of Stephens Park parking lot, back by where the soccer field is. So the food trucks will be lined up in a big, kind of like a box. The beer tent will be set off to the side to where the soccer field is at, and it will be opened so that people can get to the beer tent from the food trucks. They will be gated inside of the fence. They'll be, picketed off. And there also will be an area for cornhole, and that will also be fenced off so that the adults who want to play cornhole may also enjoy a beer. I plan to have that area blocked off with cones so no other cars can go back there. And we're going to be all contained to that way back area. I have a live band that will be coming. Any other questions?
Sounds like a big event, nice.
I just wanted to bring some fun to the city. And it started off, my vision was 6 food trucks, a DJ, and some cornhole. And it kind of escalated and grew, and that's where we're at now.
That's how we do it in Fraser, right?
That's right. Go big or go home.
Absolutely. Councilwoman Blanky.
Thank you. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
I congratulate you on your vision and what you did with all the food trucks and whatever. But up until last week or the week before, I didn't realize, I don't know if any of us knew about the beer tent, okay?
Yeah.
And I have, my thought on that, and I guess my question is, how did you get the beer tent? What did you do? What process?
Okay, so originally when I proposed this plan, I wanted a beer tent. I contacted the Lions Club, and we had back and forth conversations, and nobody really got back to me. Then Hunter decided that she was going to take it further, and she's the one that contacted Lions Club. She's the one that set up everything for the beer tent. They did the negotiating. They decided how it was going to be run, who was going to be in charge of it, who was going to be responsible for it, and that's how that became, evolved.
Okay, well, my only concern from past practice or just life experience, I was under the illusion that, the beer tent, of course, as you know, is a liability. So I'm assuming that, and I've dealt with the Lions for many years, that they have all their licenses in order.
Yes,
that
they have all their licenses in order. They have everything that they would do, like they've done for the Lions Carnival. So they have the special license that they applied for. They have that will be present the night of the food truck rally. Not sure if Vincent wants to add to anything to that?
Yeah, actually, I can interject. Good evening, everyone. We actually met with the Lions Club, and they, in applying for the license, that makes them liable. So even though the city is hosting the event, the Lions Club is responsible for the liquor, the sales, the beer tent, with their license. And they do have insurance. They're automatically insured with commercial general liability insurance through the International Association of the Lions Club. So the liability is theirs. The liability is not on the City of Fraser as far as that is concerned. It is similar to the carnival, you know, in that they sponsored, hosted, ran the beer tent. No change there, but even though the city is hosting this event, the Lions Club is completely liable for it. On top of that, I believe Elaine checked with our own insurance and has determined that we are properly covered. In the event there's some overlap or something else that goes on, and I'm sure Elaine can speak to that.
Thank you, Vince.
Yes, I did contact our insurance agent, Stephen Saff, just to confirm that we would be covered similar to how it is when it's the carnival. It's not a city-led event, and he said that there are no issues with it at all, that we have the same coverage level.
Okay. Any other questions, Kathy?
I'm done.
How many food trucks do you have?
Right now, we have 9 food trucks coming. 2 of them will be dessert trucks, and the other ones will be, we have a barbecue. We have, if you see in your packet, they listed all the food trucks that we were having. I can tell you that in 1 second. So we have Real Taco Express, Motor City Sweet Treats, Twisted Barbecue, Batter Up Waffle Company, Estes Greek Street Food, the D-Loft Cafe, and I believe there's one more, but it's cut off.
Big Bo's Grill.
Yes, Big Bo's Grill. And then the other barbecue ended up canceling as of yesterday, but we still have 9 trucks coming. I think it is just to get the city upbeat again, I guess.
Councilwoman Amy Baranski.
Thank you. First, thank you.
You're welcome.
You and I talked about this in
Yes.
the summer, and I'm very excited. But I'm gonna put a big question mark out here, because I gotta put my lawyer hand up. Oh. Sorry. First of all, thank you for all of your work. You and I talked this summer. I'm super excited about this. But I gotta put a big pause, because I'm an attorney, and I do this liability work all of the time. So as much as everyone can say we aren't liable, are we a named insured on their policy so that we use their insurance first? Because if not, they will come after us and our insurance will charge us $25,000 automatically per claim without regards to fault. Does anyone know that?
Normally, what they would do is make us additionally insured.
Did they do that?
I've not had any insurance information provided to this point. But normally, like with the carnival, that's what they do, and we would expect to have the same.
Right, and I guess, and that actually, maybe I should stop back. Like with the carnival, there was a contract that was negotiated, and I know it took a long time, and Don worked with, I'm assuming, their lawyers, and came up with an agreement so that the city was in fact insulated, and therefore, if a claim was made, it wasn't the city's insurance that paid, it was their payment, and you have a contract, not your agent, and not, and it's not you, it's not, has nothing to do with.
No, I understand that.
Yeah. So you're just looking at me and I'm like.
No, I'm just.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, Don, have you looked at anything or entered into, has there been a contract between whatever vendor is serving alcohol? And that's the concern. Obviously, we have concerns if, heaven forbid, someone got sick with food poisoning, but I'm okay with that risk. But I am not okay with risk when it comes to, well, because these are all
really don't want
reputable
anybody
food
to get
trucks.
food
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not okay with that.
but not that anyone wants anything to happen, but if someone leaves and gets in an accident, I promise you, the City of Fraser will be sued. I guarantee it. And you can disbelieve me, but I guarantee it will happen. This is what I do all day, every day. Ms. Kelka sits on the other side of me all day, every day. Big,
My head so
big figure.
vehemently.
So is there a contract that was negotiated between the Lions Club and the city as it pertains to serving of alcohol for this event?
No, there has not been.
Okay. are they, I don't know, is there time to do that? I mean, I guess this event's coming up. I don't want to make,
Is that something that they would be open to having a similar contract to what we have with the carnival? And getting pre-approval if the terms are the same with this commission to be able to work with city administration and the attorney to get a contract signed for something that is in the same lines as what was done with the carnival.
do we know, is there anyone from the Lions here, or I mean, has this not even been an issue? I don't know who have you been, or I guess you haven't been doing
I have
it,
not.
And Hunter.
This has been Hunter,
Yeah.
and it was Nicole that she's been in contact with. I believe it's Nicole, and they've kind of hashed things out and worked things out. I'm just here representing my vision part of it.
Yep. And I'm not trying to rain on the vision, but I'm,
No, I agree.
yeah, you know me. I'm a hard no on alcohol until I know there's a contract in place that makes sure we're an additionally named insured on their policy, that gives them primary liability, all of the things that went into the contract that Don had negotiated for the city picnic carnival, but not on the rest of the event.
There's no agreement like that in place at the current time. They apply like any other vendor. So the food truck rally or the food truck vendors, they apply, in the same manner. Is there an agreement like the carnival? No.
My second question, thank you for that. And my second question is, did we sign anything with any of the other food truck vendors? Is there any, I guess just following up, I mean, I'm assuming, did we make sure they had certificates of insurance for that and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, I believe that's all been checked out. They have to fill out a form. Also, they have a $35 fee that they have to pay to the city. And then they also have a $10 fee per person working on their truck. So that I know 3 of the food trucks have turned that stuff in. Hunter did send out emails again just recently this week saying, hey, you need to turn your forms in, you need to turn your money in. So I know that's in the works right now.
Perfect. And then did we charge them on top of it to?
We did
or no?
not. I wanted to just get the food trucks here. If it turns out to be a great event next year, let's do it again, charge them a little bit of money. But first we got to get them in and say, hey, we have interest in the city before we can say, hey, we want to charge you $50 or $100 to come.
I think that was
They're going to
very
be
smart.
saying, hey, we don't know if you're going to give us the business.
I think that was very smart. Have we advertised this on, although people think this is antiquated, but on the television roly-poly? My husband's watching right now on the television. Is this event being advertised on the television? If not, can we get it out there? Because we do want to have our vendors
Right.
have the biggest attendance possible. So we want to not just do social media.
Right.
And
I have been
also-
going door to door around the city, passing flyers out to businesses and say, hey, can you post this? Can you do
Perfect.
this? I have hit many of the avenues on Facebook. I'm not sure about the roly-poly thing because I didn't think anybody was there that was able to put things on there, because I know we're still trying to get our names put on for Parks and Recs on the city webpage, and I've asked that like 6 months ago, and it still hasn't been updated. So I didn't think there was anybody who actually does that or is capable of doing that.
And I don't know the answer either, unfortunately.
that's-
But hopefully, and Elaine's taking copious notes, so I have a feeling it'll be on tomorrow, at least that part of it. The next question I have is, how was the band selected, and how do we make sure it's family appropriate?
It will be family appropriate. I checked out the band. They play 50s, 60s, 70s music. I had a person contact me and said, hey, I want to put up half the money for the band. They're a great band. They know it's going to be family oriented. Like I said, they play the 50s, 60s, 70s music. They do a little bit of country. I already talked to them saying that this has to be family oriented, and they agreed with that. They have no problem with that at all.
Okay, perfect. And what was the band?
It's home.
Sorry.
My home or home. I forget now.
Is it on there? Hold on. My thing is not loading,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I
so
think
can't.
it's home something jam.
Okay, that's okay.
And
It's not on there. Oh, it was on her packet, on Sarah's description of the event. I think it was on there.
I think it should be on the packet there.
All right, hold on. I'm
'Cause I did include that in there.
Oh, I want to give him a shout out.
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did anybody else find the band's name?
I mean, if I go back and get my phone, I can probably pull it up, but.
Yeah, it's not.
I feel like it's
Oh.
a race to find the name of the band.
Saw it
Band's not
somewhere. Dang it. Well, we'll get it, and we will make sure to give them recognition.
Oh, there you go. Echo's got you.
Okay, let me see here.
Just says the band was set up. DJ, an artist. Yeah, it's not on there.
Sorry, there's a lot of,
Yeah, well, but she's, yeah. Well, where did we get the band from? Who,
a person who's a member of the city recommended the band,
got it?
and they prefer to remain anonymous, and they were putting up half the money for them.
Okay, all right, now it makes sense. Okay, so I got it. All right, and then the last question, I had seen at one point something about donations being accepted to
Yes.
fund this.
It wasn't to fund it.
Or-
It
well,
was
I guess
actually
that's
for
my- yeah,
sponsors.
sponsors
And their names are going to go up into tent, like the Lions Club. So they will have a banner up there with their names on it.
Okay. So the one question, well, I had a couple questions for that. If I read it right, they had up until like Wednesday. Is that going to be enough time to actually get a banner up on Saturday?
Hunter says it will be.
So the city's doing the banners?
Yes, Hunter's taking care of the banner.
Okay, because I would hate to promise
And like I said,
not
if she
deliver.
can't, I'll get out my Cricut machine and do some yellow signs and put it up there. Because I'm like already making some yellow signs to put around the town that say Food Truck Rally, September, Sevens Park, September 18th from 4 to 8 p.m. I've already got some of them cut out, and I put a halt to it till after tonight's meeting. Then I will go back to working on some of those.
And that was going to be another thing that I was
I
recommend.
also have a banner that I'm having made up too that will go on the fence. I'm in the midst of filling out the permit for that.
And then I guess the last question I have, it kind of circles back to my concern, and the only objection I really have is, how was it that the Lions, and I don't know if there are other options, the Lions Club was picked for the alcohol component? Was it just that they offered it as, just because I know we have the VFW and we,
Well, the VFW was another, they were my backup plan.
okay?
Okay, Hunter was the one, like I said, Hunter was the one that said, let's go with the beer tent. And I said, okay, as long as you take care of that aspect of it, I figured you work for the city, she would, dot the i's, cross the t's, everything would be good. I'd be there the day of to take care of everything else. If that was going to be, if they weren't going to do it, I had reached out to the VFW Hall since I've worked with them previously for our movie night and stuff like that. And they said they would definitely do it. They're more than willing to do anything in the city.
Okay. So then my last question is, so the reason that it has to come before council for approval is because of the alcohol, is that correct? The special use permit for the park that involves alcohol, or is that not correct?
I think giving exclusive rights to the parks is the big.
Oh, got
factor
it.
Here, yeah.
Regardless of alcohol? Okay, got
It
it.
used to be that whenever you had any type of event with an alcohol permit, it used to have to come to local governing bodies, but that's not something that the state requires anymore.
Okay.
I do have a potential motion that you could make for this if you wanted to move forward tonight, is that you could make a motion to approve it subject to a contract addendum with the Lions, adding this event to the contract that was in place for the carnival.
Or just a rider to their insurance.
I want both.
No, it'd be a contract addendum. So the previous contract that we had with them for the carnival, they would have an addendum to that contract,
Cover this.
adding this event.
Well, that's
So you'd have all the same language and everything that you had already worked on in that
what I
previous.
was going to suggest, or use that contract as the base for this one. Because that one, once it was done, is pretty clear.
Yeah, and I think that would be something we'd need to obviously work on getting tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you make that motion to move forward with that.
And then my last concern, so you had allocated or estimated, I get, the staffing needed from the city. I forget how many DPW workers. Is this something that the I'm going to break it up in two components. First, that the DPW has the capacity to service as this is going to be needed in terms of moving picnic tables and whatever.
Yep, that's the only thing we needed for them to do is to move a few picnic tables over.
Right, and so I'm asking if the city has the capacity with the staffing as it currently exists to provide that.
Yes, I spoke with Ragsdale this afternoon about this, and I know that Lieutenant Bisbee has also reviewed the proposal.
And so that leads to my question. So when we add alcohol, we want to have a greater police presence in our city. Do we know on this date, are we staffed at minimum? Did we add additional staff?
In the proposal, it's 2 additional staff people for those 4 hours.
Okay, so we would be paying overtime because they're not already scheduled, is that correct?
I don't know if it would be overtime or not, but it would be 2 additional people above and beyond what we would normally have on duty. I don't know if there are people that it would trigger overtime or not.
Well, do we know how many are currently scheduled for that day?
I do not.
Okay. Was any conversations had with Lieutenant Bisbee about staffing needs in terms of, you know, are we going to have to force someone over to fill this overtime or this position, or do we have someone who's already volunteered for it?
I don't have those details, but
Okay.
yeah, we would need to have 2 people.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lieutenant Bisbee said that, you know, in his estimation, it would be 2 people in his expertise. Estimated at roughly $600. Said if there was a sergeant and an officer there, the cost would be slightly higher, but, you know, that's what he said.
Right, that's the cost. That doesn't explain the toll on the people that have to do the work, which is what I was kind of looking for. Because my fundamental problem, and this isn't your problem, is that there was a lack of planning for what this event became.
Right.
And that's not your fault, because you said you started small.
Started small. I
And-
did. Honest, I really did.
No, and I know you did, and I'm thrilled. I'm like, where am I going to go? Which one? But I do not like, because now I'm thinking back, like, okay, now the Lions contract. Okay, I looked at it, but now I don't like to approve something without looking at it again, and that's just the lawyer in me. And as much as I trust Don, I just am disappointed that we're sitting here a week before, and I'm thinking, okay, so are we going to force over cops? Is the Lions going to do it? We've already advertised it, and I'm just disappointed, that's all. But
My thing was
not
too,
at you.
No, I'm disappointed too because the flyer that we started posting around has been more than 2 weeks ago with the beer tent and things on that. And I was figuring because Hunter works for the city, everything was taken care of. And then to find out, you know, a couple days ago, like a week ago, 10 days ago, I had to come up and, you know, write down everything that was going to happen. And then it had to get sent to you guys for your packets. And I was like, where did this come from? You know, now my event is, you know, on the 18th, and we are now on the 9th discussing this. So I'm,
Well, and I'll tell you, because I saw the flyer the first flyer didn't say beer tent, and then I saw one that said beer tent, and I immediately, and we can only meet and only discuss
Right.
it in open, and I immediately said, here's my list of questions, and that's how it got on the agenda. So I get that you're behind the 8 ball, and that's not your fault, but I'm not happy. So, not at you.
no, I understand. Like I
Thank
said,
you.
Well, you know, I've said when you do something the first time, it's always a learning curve.
It is, and
that.
like I said, I've learned a lot being on the Parks and Recs Commission of different protocols and different things. I mean, nobody tells you when you become a Parks and Recs Commission, all the steps that you have to go through. It's like trial and error. You're just learning. Nobody, they tell you, oh, well, no, now you need this, or now you need that. So, I mean, it's just a trial
Well,
and
your
error.
your last preparation was very good, so you've got a great starting point for next year.
Oh, yeah.
You know it's how it's going to be done, you're doing advanced, and, you know, it's going to be a home run next year for sure, as far as hitting the paperwork, getting everything lined up and doing that, so I understand and I get it, it's just a learning curve, that's all, so.
In fairness to Hunter, I think it's a learning curve for her too, because she's never had to deal with any of this, so she
She has it, and she's been awesome.
She's learning as
been
she goes
wonderful.
as well.
She's learning
Agreed,
along
yeah.
with everybody else. So I
It's
mean,
understandable. It's just, I should say frustrated, not disappointed. Maybe that. I'm not, yeah, because 100%, the first time you do anything, it's hard.
right.
And-
That's why I want it small.
I'm frustrated only because,
Well, you know.
yeah.
And it turned into a live band, and we have a DJ, and we have.
And it's okay to stay small. That's the other thing, is it's okay to stay small, you know? But thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's what makes things successful. You work hard, you fix the things.
Believe me, it's been a lot of work.
Do it, so. I hope it goes very well, so. Councilman Suzanne Kolka.
Thank you. Ms. Cook, thank you so much for taking the lead on this. You did a
You're
great
welcome.
job.
Thank
An
you.
excellent job.
I've tried.
And just to, echo Councilwoman Baranski, I agree with her 100% with regard to the beer tent issue and the liability. It changes the dynamic of the event for me. And not to say that it isn't something that we can't do, but because it's the late hour, if we can't get something in place, I don't know if it's going to be a go as it relates to that.
And how soon would I know yes, no, before anything else goes out?
So I think you're going to talk to the Lions Club tomorrow, or you guys are going to have some sort of discussion with them about whether it can even be approached.
Well, we're going to take a
It
vote.
would all be,
Well, no, I mean, after, if in
would all
fact
be
it's subject to your motion, if the motion says that, then that would kind of be the protocol that would follow if the motion that was made is a motion that has the contingency terms on it. My concern about the Lions Club contract, it is very comprehensive, and it includes all costs, and that wouldn't be the same type of dynamic here because they aren't going to be responsible for all the costs here. And so I'm not sure that that's something that they would be able to pull the trigger on right away because they're not going to be responsible, or they wouldn't be responsible in this type of event sponsored by the city, that they would take on all the costs, unlike the carnival. So that contract.
What costs are you talking about? Like, I mean,
So for the carnival, they take on all the costs, all
Right.
the labor, all the overtime. So here, they wouldn't be. So all of that would have to be taken out of the contract, anything that relates to the
Okay.
costs. So that may, in other words, what I'm getting at is it may take some time to get all of that information out of there. And I'm not sure that within 1 week, we're going to be able to do that. But I would be in favor of this next year, going down that road, making sure that all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, for sure. Because obviously, I mean, this is a fantastic event. This is, you have great vision. I hope to see more of this. This is so great. And, I feel like it is at the 11th hour, unfortunately, but
right, and that's
not,
what my big concerns were.
Yeah.
My big concern is everything that I seem to try to do with Parks and Rec seems to take forever. Like trying to contact somebody, it takes them a month. Like the electricity.
Welcome to government.
Electricity at the concession stand. I started out a month ago. It took them over a month before anybody even responded to my emails. I mean, I had to send 4 and 5 emails for almost everything I've done, and it's like nobody wants to respond.
and you're
to
doing a great
anything.
job. I want you to know this is fabulous. Like, this is fabulous. You did an excellent job with putting this together. The only issue that I had with it was, again, is just the beer tent, because again, it changes the dynamic. It puts, our guys and gals that have to work that, it puts them in a precarious situation. We may have to pay overtime. We weren't prepared for it, that kind of thing. So we can just kind of iron out these details and have these conversations well before the event. And the only other question that I have, because I don't want to keep repeating myself, but the only other question I have is this other area, the area that you're going to have the food trucks.
Yes.
Has that area ever been paved? Because I know the last time I walked.
Nope, it's gravel, just like the
gravel?
rest of the parking lot is.
Is
And
it-
it's, like I said, it's behind, there's like a little shed that I guess was the warming shed for when it was a pond. So it's behind that area, so it's away from traffic, it's away from cars going back there or anything. It's just gonna be people walking around back there, whoops. And, like I said, it's gonna be all enclosed off.
Okay. My question with regard to that area, though, is, and it's been a while since I've been back in that area specifically, but is it even ground? Are there potholes, like large potholes in that area?
I don't believe there's large potholes back there. I've been back there a couple of times.
I just want to make sure that people going back there aren't going to have to, they're going to have issues with navigating the area because the ground isn't even, because it's just kind of an area like when we have the carnival, that's where all the carnival people
Right.
park and stuff. So it's not like a maintained area that we maintain on a regular basis like we would with a parking lot. So that's my only other concern.
And I think it's almost comparable to the parking lot that's across from the baseball diamond. That's a gravel parking lot. I mean, I think it's pretty much comparable to that.
Okay, all right. I mean, if you've been through it and you
I've been
think
through a couple
it's-
times back
okay,
there. I mean,
Probably better than the entrance going into the park,
probably.
Fair enough.
which is an asphalt road.
Right, okay. Okay, well, those are my thoughts. Thank you again. You did this is great, and I hope to see more of this.
I hope.
And then just comment on yours, I gotta believe maybe the Lions would even pick up, I mean, if we're only talking DPW for picnic tables and 2 men for public safety, the amount of money they'll probably make on the beer in this event will, I don't think they would have any problem covering that, but that would be totally up to them, but. Elaine, do you have a comment?
Talking about this contract, it's something kind of predates me coming in here. I'm not really that familiar with the contract, and you make a lot of good points about the contract. So, you know, I have some concerns as well. I mean, I can totally understand why Ms. Baranski has issues with this. But I think it's a great event, and trying to find some middle ground to try and find a way to move forward with this. I don't know how everyone feels about maybe just pulling the plug on the beer tent and moving forward with everything else. You know, still having a tent, having the entertainment, people being able to sit out there and eat their food. And
Must be a beautiful night.
so if you know, if we can't come up with another motion or contract language or anything, even that as another potential option for a motion.
Councilman Lessig.
Yes. Thank you again, Christine. I appreciate, I know how things can spin out of control and become
Oh, they
bigger than
did.
you intended. What I would like to see is you leave here tonight with an event that you know you're going to be able to hold. I think delaying this decision and attempting to use our city administration and city attorney at this late hour to negotiate with the Lions, I think it's going to be a lot of time that you need to be planning the event rather than negotiating whether we can have a beer tent for 4 hours. So I'm not sure what motion we need to pass tonight to just have an event without beer, and then what the event would be to have this beer tent as well. So is the administration looking for in terms of a motion in order, a special use permit for the park itself? Would that be the first part of it?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate because you're giving them exclusive use of the park. So
Okay.
that really could easily be one step, is that exclusive use of the park for the food truck rally. And then if you wanted to go above and beyond and do something about the beer tent.
Well, and I have a question that kind of goes to the next question. Is this a city event? Is this a private event? Because if they is us, do we need to provide an event, a permit for ourselves?
I believe it was a Parks and Rec event. That's how I proposed it, as a Parks and Rec event.
So if it's a city event, then do we need to issue a permit to ourselves? Which leads me to just a small ancillary question, which is if we have, you mentioned a sign permit. for
Right.
this. If this is a city event, do we need to issue a permit to ourselves to put up a sign? So I think government is good at creating bureaucracy where none is needed. Sometimes there's things we need to do that make sense, look at liability and make sure we've got all the things covered. But so I'm looking, this seems, I know you started this as kind of a,
I did.
Parks and Rec.
4 or 5 months ago, I
and then it
started
became
this.
private, and then it became, now it's back to the city, and we're using city resources in Hunter, which I appreciate her efforts.
Yes.
So kind of trying to boil it down, what is the motion, what is needed by this council tonight in order for you to hold a food truck rally?
And so I don't
without
have to go
beer?
around and take all these flyers.
And I understand that because you've advertised it as one thing and then that
Right.
was added.
It's
So-
been kind of advertised at a couple different things. There was advertised, first of all, with a beer tent, with a cornhole tournament, and things like that. And then that kind of fell through because Hunter can't be here at that event. So I told her I can't run a cornhole tournament plus everything else I'm doing that night. So that got taken out, and then the beer tent got taken out, and then the beer tent got added to it again. So
I see this as a food truck rally with perhaps a beer tent, not a beer tent with a food.
I think that's fair to say.
So that's the primary goal.
You know what, I agree. I mean, I will take the beer tent out of my flyers that I'm going to post, or if it gets passed over the next couple of days. And if it comes about that there is a beer tent there, then the people will be more excited. I mean, that's how I guess that's how I got to leave it for now. Because it just kind of, I thought everything was handled the city end of it.
So what is go back to the question, what is the motion that needs to be first passed, a special use permit for the,
No, you wouldn't need to.
or nothing? You're nodding your head.
Sure. So it's a great question, Mr. Lesich, and as I'm sitting here listening to this, I'm doing the process in my head of if we were sitting at a table in a room talking this event through with all of the players who are organizing it, what would it be? And to me, if we scale it back where there isn't a beer tent component, then really this is just exactly what she described, what Ms. Cook described, which is the city taking applications from from food truck vendors, charging them our application fee to vet them and get the paperwork done, and allowing them to use Stephens Park in a way that's been described by the Parks and Rec Department and Commission on that date at those times, and to authorize, city personnel to help facilitate that. That's all this is without the beer tent aspect of it.
Like the farmer's market.
A little bit, yeah. If it becomes bigger than that, if it's not just food trucks parked in a certain configuration at Stephens Park with authority from the city council to do that exclusively and have that space, if it becomes bigger than that, then I agree with a lot of the comments that have been made. This is something that we would have gone through and worked through in terms of insurance, in terms of indemnification, making sure that if there is a claim made, that it doesn't go to the city's insurance carrier so we don't have to pay a deductible. And those kinds of risks still exist, right, with a food truck event at a park. And we have governmental immunity, and we like to think that protects us, but yet we do have insurance as well, and there are costs associated with that. But those risks, I think, have been pointed out, are lessened when it's just a food truck event, when there isn't alcohol mixed into the equation, where there isn't adult use and participation, where there aren't needs to have controls in place and barricades, blocking off the LCC-approved areas. That makes it bigger and different. And then there's the aspect of who is responsible for that. Right now it's just the City of Fraser taking the applications for the food trucks. But if the liquor control license for that day is going through a private third party, such as the Lions Club or anyone else, they have to have some agreement with us as the city, allowing them to be there, right? Just like we have the agreement with each food truck. We just don't have that yet. So there is the idea there that we could tack on an addendum to their existing contract. They agreed to all those same terms. If council wanted to waive a term like the cost or something, council could tell us to do that. We could work through all that. We could get it done and executed, and the event could happen as big as it needs to be. If it's going to be scaled back, then I don't think we need much other than a city council motion authorizing this food truck event in a way that the council motion describes it to be, to occur on that date and at that time as described.
Okay, it's all clear. A lot of moving parts there. I have one more fly in the ointment. Is alcohol allowed in Stephens Park in cans, not bottles?
Yes.
So could someone actually bring their own alcohol into the park at any point in time?
They probably could.
Okay.
You definitely
And that liability would be on the city?
can. No.
We didn't
We
provide.
didn't
All right,
provide.
I apologize.
Sorry.
That is allowable under our city ordinances at the present time. Okay.
No bottles.
So I would like to make a motion to allow the special use permit to occur without alcohol at this event on Saturday,
September 18th.
18th, from 4 to
4 to
8
8.
p.m.
Yes.
That would be my motion.
Second.
We do have a motion and second. Mayor Pro Tem Winniewicki.
Again, thank you for all your work. I'm just going to echo everything everyone else said. You've done a great job. Some people know, some people don't. I'm the liaison from
Right,
council
correct.
to Parks and Rec. And I was asked that question, or I was asked a question at the last meeting on Tuesday, that was this an all or nothing type of thing? And, we talked that back. And so I want to throw it kind of back out to you now and say, would you be happy with the proposal that Mr. Lesich has just made without that beer tent? I mean, are you?
Well, that goes back to, it's back to where my vision was. So yes, I'm happy with that because like I said, there's been a lot of work in the last 5 months to get this going. It would be great to have the beer tent, but if you guys decide not to do the beer tent, I'm happy to go forward with it and just continue like I was doing in the past.
And then knowing all the steps and all the hoops you have to jump through and everything,
I've learned a lot.
for next year, you've already got it rolling around. I can see the wheels turning, so,
I'm always a step ahead of that part of stuff, but yes.
okay.
So was there a second?
I did.
We do have a second. Councilwoman Shornack.
Well, I just want to throw out there then, I'm perfectly fine with the no alcohol thing, because I do understand it all. But my thing is then, for the Lions, especially if this is going to be something you're going to want to do annually, then we can start working on that for next year, add it to their current contract they have, and then we have that workability time, so that if that is something that they want to enter into with the city for next year for that as well, that they have that opportunity. That's all.
Okay, we have a Councilwoman Blanky.
I just would like to add for public information that according to the charter, what Mr. Lessig said about, alcohol absolutely is allowable.
So I can bring your own
No,
BYOB
no.
on it?
No bottles, no glass containers,
Bring your own cans?
but the rule is no glass containers, okay? Just thought I'd add that on. for
As a city
general
event, we don't want to
knowledge.
promote
Right, I agree.
bringing it in. So if it was a private event, sure, but as a city event, since we're hosting, we'd probably prefer not that.
That's what I was going to say, Mr. Mayor. This is a city event, and we can't prevent it, but it's not wise to encourage it because it opens up the potential for liability.
I was just joking on that.
No, good, yeah. Well, and then, the only thing I would echo what Ms. Blanky, well, two things. I would like to still have the tent with the tables, because I think that's a really cool idea. So I hope that's encompassed
They
in
need a
the
place to
motion.
sit and eat.
Well,
I'm not saying that.
Technically, they don't, because if you go to
Bingo.
St. Clair Shores food truck rallies.
Bingo.
I've been to many of those. They don't give you nowhere to sit. You stand, you walk, you eat your food, you mingle with people, you walk around
That's
the
nice.
park.
I want to
That's
sit and
it.
eat.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I'm happy that we were getting tables and chairs, even picnic tables.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's, better than St. Clair Shores in that event, or that part of it.
And then I was just going to add that absolutely, if they're going to get to sell alcohol, put it on the Lions Club and then let them incur the risks and the cost. That's awesome. That's a great idea, Ms. Blanky.
Okay. So we have a motion and second. Any other final questions? Any comments and questions from the audience? Please come forward, state your,
Mr. Singer, I'd like to congratulate this young lady.
come, you got to come up.
Come on up, Ray.
Name and address for the
No,
record,
it's-
please, and
Okay, my name is Ray Wojciechowski from Fraser Senior Housing, room 320. I'd like to, you guys all know my background in entertainment. I'd like to congratulate this young lady for doing such a great job. It's 90% preparation, 10% presentation. You people only see the presentation. You don't know what she's gone through, the 90% preparation. That I've gone through many, many a time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
anybody else at this time? I'll bring it back for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Good job.
Good luck.
See you next Saturday.
You're welcome.
Can you get us the name of that band?
Yes, it was homemade jam.
Homemade jam.
Homemade jam.
Come out and see Homemade Jam
I thought
Looking forward to
it was
The
Hell's
18th.
Angels.
between 4 and 8.
I will be there.
Stephens.
Cash, bring cash, right?
Bring lots of cash
Oh,
and an appetite.
Deb's already.
I know, I'm excited too.
Okay, item B, cross-connection proposal bids. I believe this is, Elaine, you want to turn this over to AEW, or you want to handle this?
I can do a quick summary of this. We have a proposal from AEW for a cross-connection control program services. This is something that is required to be done by the state, and it is a proposal that is spaced out over 3 years for a total of $110,988. We only received one bidder, and that was from Hydro Corp. We do have Scott Lockwood from AEW, if you have any questions about any particulars of this bid or the required process from the state.
Councilwoman Shornack.
Oh, my gosh. the hot seat, eh?
You haven't been in a while, so we're gonna get you on every.
Yeah, I know. It's good to be back, I
Give the
think.
lights, cue the spotlight.
I was just curious, why is there only one bidder? Is it because this is like something that's kind of like an anomaly kind of thing, something very specific, you know? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Is this something that, sorry, yeah. Is this something that's like, you know, very hard to get anybody to do, or is that why there's only one bidder?
Yes. I mean, the really
very
short answer
specialized?
is, yeah, it's kind of a specialized service. A lot of communities, including Fraser, you know, you have a part-time employee that does a commercial and institutional, and he's paid directly by the City of Fraser. But when it comes into residential, you got 4,600 residents, so, you know, it's not something you typically want to handle with a part-time employee or a full-time employee for that matter. And it does obviously take some expertise, and this company is kind of the company in the state that does it.
Okay.
We had anticipated only getting one bid, but it could have been, you know, you never know, so. And it went through the
Market
typical.
that clearly needs to be filled.
Yeah, and it did go through your typical public bid process, advertised on BidNet, and had ample time for bidders to, you know, put together their packages. So. And the cost also is in direct comparison with similar, you know, with other communities doing similar programs.
Okay, well, that was my question, because I was just like, one bidder?
Councilman Lessig.
Yes, I've got more than one question. Can you hear me now?
I
All
can
right,
hear you.
thank
You
you.
can hear me, right?
Yes,
Don't
I
push
can
a
hear
button or
you.
anything.
Well, you have a radio voice, so. What is a cross connection? So,
Cross
because
connection-
you're going to be essentially going to 500 homes a year, checking for something, people are going to want to know, what is a cross connection?
So cross connection, and I'm not an expert in cross connections, but basically it's an opportunity for water in the event that, let's say you had like a fire on your street and they opened all the hydrants, and theoretically you could draw water back into the system instead of pushing it out. So they look at primary elements that, if that were the case, would there, you know, do you need a backflow preventer? Things they look at are like boilers. One thing that needs to be corrected, if you have like a tub in your basement, and like all the old tubs had screw-on where you could connect a hose to it, that's a very significant potential for cross connection, particularly in your basement because it's a low-lying area. Trying to think of a few of the other things that they look for. Yeah,
Scott,
your
if you don't
irrigation
mind,
system.
Scott, if
hi,
you
Mark.
don't mind, let me jump in for a minute. Councilman Lessig, a cross connection is anytime there's a possibility of potable water being connected to non-potable. So basically drinking water being connected to a non-drinking water source. There's and so you're looking to eliminate backflow. There's two types of backflow. You have back siphonage, and what Scott has just explained. For instance, if there is a fire across the street and the fire department comes and turns on the fire hydrant, that would create negative pressure in the water main, and there's the potential for back siphonage to happen in your house through your sprinkler system. That's why you have to have a pressurized vacuum breaker on the outside of your house. There's also back pressure. Back pressure occurs when the pressure inside a house or building, for whatever reason, generally it's connected to a boiler, when the pressure exceeds the pressure coming in from the city's water source. So if we, for instance, were supplying to a building 60 PSIs and the pressure inside the facility was 85 PSIs, then you're going to create back pressure, which is a form of backflow. These incidences are stopped with the proper backflow preventer. These backflow preventers have to be tested every 3 years. For residential, commercial, it's every year. So this is part of a state required program, and it's referred to as a cross connection program. So this also is one half of the whole program. You have the commercial, which, as he's spoken, we have a part-time employee that does a commercial. But with the residentials, we have roughly 4,600 water accounts. This program will target 500 a year, and we're focusing on the homes that we know have 2 meters, they have 2 meters because one is being used for their sprinkler systems. So anytime you have a sprinkler system, we automatically know you have to have a backflow preventer. So we had to make sure you, A, you have the backflow preventer, and B, make sure that the backflow preventer has been properly tested. Just wanted to jump in there for a minute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's what I understand it to be too. So you said residents, every 3 years we have to inspect these?
Correct.
We have 4,600 accounts, so at 500 a year, that would take about 9 years to do them all? Will we be, you said we're going to focus on the irrigation, I understand that, double
Right.
meters. But
Right.
will we be doing all the homes eventually?
Eventually, yes. Eventually, we will get to all the homes. But
Okay.
this is just part of the first part. So the state, it's kind of hard for me to explain the whole program right now, but the state requires you to put together a program. So this is the beginning stages of our program. Eventually, it will grow. But we are filling a state mandate by what we have put in front of you tonight.
And just to put it in layman's terms, the backflow is taking water we don't want to drink and having it come into the drinking water supply, even in your own
Absolutely.
home. That's
Yeah,
essentially
absolutely.
what we're trying to avoid.
Absolutely.
I support that idea, and the question is, at 500 homes a year, it's going to take 9 years. If this is an important program, could we accelerate it if we decided, hey, I understand how hard it is to schedule getting into everyone's home and doing all that. But if we could get this ramped up and we could double it to 1,000 homes a year, we could get this done quicker. Would that be-
Absolutely, absolutely. But this is just the beginning stages.
Okay.
There's no doubt in my mind, we'll be back to the city council in the near future as the program is put together. But right now, we are filling a state mandate, and this is the beginning stages of our program.
And in that program, I read, and I'm just clarifying, when they come out to inspect, they come into your home, they
Correct.
check from the meter, they check the meter itself, and then they check to all the endpoints on the system, like your
Correct.
faucets and things, to make sure it's in order. And then, if need be, they put up to 4 hose bib type vacuum breakers?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, so you have 2 types of vacuum breaker. You have a pressurized vacuum breaker. That's the backflow preventer piece that you see on the outside of your home if you have a sprinkler system.
Okay.
An atmospheric vacuum breaker is one that's going to screw on the end of a hose bib as well as your laundry tub sink. They're required there if there is threads on the faucet.
Okay.
Because the reason for that is because somebody could hook up a small water hose, right? For instance, inside City Hall, okay, you have a maintenance closet. We like to call it a slop sink, okay? If there's a slop sink, then you have to have an atmospheric vacuum breaker on that particular faucet because somebody could hook up a garden hose, right, to fill their mop bucket, and the garden hose is laying in the bottom of the sink, and the sink backs up. So maybe somebody dumped the chemicals that was in the mop bucket in the sink backs up. Now you don't have an atmospheric vacuum breaker on the end of the hose bib. And in the scenario we discussed, somebody turns on a fire hydrant, it causes back siphonage, and now you just siphon that all back through City Hall in the drinking water.
I think
That
that's a
would be
good description of it. So the cost, so one of the things that people need to understand is that they would, if we get a notice, say I have a irrigation, I will get a notice to schedule this, and then we are required to comply. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, because there was a shut-off provision at the end of it if after multiple attempts, there is a shut-off
Absolutely.
warning and thing. So,
Yep.
and this company is.
And there'll be multiple attempts.
Oh, yeah,
It's
I
not
understand.
like we're going to go out and just shut people off, but yes. And what you'll find is, a lot of people have questions. They'll call and they have questions, but I've never had, in my 30 years, I've never had a homeowner not cooperate. I have had businesses that hadn't cooperate and had to shut businesses off before, but I've never had to shut a residential home off before for non-compliance.
The main thing is it's a requirement for any water customer that if we need to do this, we need to do it.
Absolutely.
All right, and then last but not least, it's about $74 a home, correct? That's, I
I
did the
don't-
math on it, and
I will take your word for it. I did not break that down to, what it was per home.
so how would we be paying for that? Would that be coming out of our regular budget, or normally this would be a charge that would, since it's only for my home, I would normally be charged a fee for this? Has
Well, no,
there been
that-
any,
This is going to this will come out of the enterprise fund, out of the water and sewer fund.
okay, we're just going to absorb that essentially, or?
Yeah, so we absorb, it's part of our program. We're the water purveyor. It's our responsibility to do the inspection is part of the program, but it's not our responsibility to do the testing. The testing is on the homeowner. So the homeowner will be responsible for getting a master plumber out that is certified in backflow preventer testing to test their backflow preventers. What this inspection does, the inspector will come out to see the potential cross connections in the home and to either A, eliminate them, or B, send them a notice of what has to be mitigated by installing the proper backflow prevention device. So one or the other, either has to be eliminated totally, or the proper backflow prevention device has to be installed.
Okay. Thank you. With that, I would like to make a motion to recommend that Hydro Corp be engaged to provide residential cross-connection control program at a cost of $110,988 over 3 years.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mayor Pro Tem Winowicki.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the company HydroCorp. Very familiar with them. I've had to deal with them on many different commercial aspects of the properties that I ran, also on the residential. They're very thorough, they're very diligent, and they're very patient when it comes to, if you don't answer the first time, they'll send you that little reminder. And and they are the prominent company in the state of Michigan. So I just wanted to confirm that for everyone, just to put some minds at ease.
Councilwoman Shornack.
Okay, so that gave me two more questions. So, Mark, you said that anybody with 2 meters, but a large amount of people in Fraser, I got to imagine, have 2 meters because if we water our plants, I don't want to be charged for sewage. So, and I don't have sprinklers. I don't have an irrigation system outside. So, because you said they're going to be looking at people with 2 meters, are you gonna ask if we have, an irrigation system outside? Because I don't.
Okay, so the reason we targeted, or the reason that we've focused on those first is in BSNA, the program we use for water billing, people have 2 separate accounts because you have 2 separate meters. So that's how we were able to identify, and there's just under 1,500, thus the 500 a year is for starting the program out. So that's how we were able to focus in on those, and we know those are primary ones that we know a cross connection exists. We just need to make sure that they have the proper backflow preventers and they're tested when they're supposed to be tested. And
That
then
didn't answer my question.
What's that?
That didn't answer my question. Because a lot of people have pools, so they get a second line. So like before I bought my house from my mom, she put in a
Okay.
second meter.
Okay.
And that was just because she's gardened and she was always outside gardening. But we don't have a sprinkler system, is what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, I think it's a huge jump to say that everybody who has 2 meters probably has a sprinkler system, because I'm going to tell you most of them probably just have pools. Or
Okay,
they like to
well,
garden. I don't, but
Okay.
it's there.
Okay, well, that's our way of
Narrowing it down?
Narrowing it down.
Okay, so
So
how are
they're
you
all
gonna?
gonna have to be done. Every house in Fraser will have to be done.
Right,
But-
right.
but by utilizing the houses that have, 2 meters, that's the chances of us, finding, sprinkler systems are, because you're typically, not all the time, but typically your major cross connections are gonna be your sprinkler system is gonna be your biggest one for a residential home. Your other one is gonna be your standard hose bibs, and every house is gonna have a hose bib.
Oh, yeah.
And the third one is gonna be your laundry tub sink, right? That's the reason why they have to come in. Now, there's several different, I could come up with 100 different cases, scenarios that are possibilities. But these are the three major things that you're gonna find in a residential. The biggest concern is gonna be a sprinkler system. Now,
Got that part.
to target those, we utilize the second meters is the homes that we are going to focus on first.
Okay, and then, so what is the potential cost to the residents? Because most of our houses, I'm gonna say roughly in Fraser, obviously, other than the ones that are over by Meyer. And, so let's just say, well, okay, still, a large majority of the houses in Fraser were built in the 50s, the 50s and 60s. So what are the chances that we don't have the proper
So.
equipment in our,
So, just like, Councilwoman Lesage said, they will supply up to 4, atmospheric vacuum breakers. Okay, typically, that's gonna take care of any minor cross connection that the homeowner may have, which is your hose bibs and your potential laundry tub, sink, faucet, if it's threaded. If they're not threaded, then there's no, a potential cross connection.
Okay.
Because you can't put a hose on it if it's not threaded. That being said, the other issue is the the pressurized vacuum breaker on the outside of the home for the houses with sprinkler systems. Those have to be tested. That is on the homeowner. That cost will be the homeowner, and typically the cost ranges anywhere from $50 to $100 to have that tested once every 3 years.
okay, so, but the company, if they come out and they do have to put those valves or whatever in, so 4 of them are covered under this $39,000? Or does the homeowner have to pay for each one of those that are installed?
No, those would be covered as part of the program.
Okay.
If they have to install them, but even if the homeowner had to go out and buy them, you can buy them at Home Depot. I think they're, I don't know, $6, $7 a piece.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
wanted to
it's
know.
just, it's as simple as screwing on a little spacer. It looks like a little spacer with an aerator in it, on the end of your hose bib, and then your garden hose goes onto that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I know that'll be a question that, I mean, if I want to know it, I'm sure somebody else would want to know it as well.
Sure.
Okay, cool, thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Councilman Kolko.
Thank you. So I just have a couple of really quick questions. Is this something we've been doing all along, or is this a brand-new federal or state mandate that's taken place?
No, this is not new. This is, Fraser has not been complying with the, residential portion. We've been complying with the, business portion, but not the residential portion. So this is part of being in compliance.
I see. Is this something, how was this discovered that we weren't in compliance?
Right, from the Eagle, our Eagle rep, Will, I can't think of his last name right offhand, but, we were notified, by Will.
Was it just like in the last few months or so?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I figured, because this hasn't been budgeted for. We
Correct.
didn't budget for this when we went through the whole fiscal budget process a few months ago, and we're now only a couple of months into the new fiscal cycle.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. That was all the questions that I had.
Councilman Lesage.
Yes, I have another question for you, Mark. On the pressurized vacuum breaker, I've got one on my house. You said we would have to have that tested independently of HydroCorp?
Correctly. Yeah, correct.
Is there
HydroCorp does not test them. HydroCorp does not do the testing. They're coming out to do the inspection, one, to find that you actually have a sprinkler system that requires a pressurized vacuum breaker. Do you have the pressurized vacuum breaker? Then they're going to send you a letter that says that you have to have it tested. You get it tested, the master plumber that you use to get it tested will then give you a copy of the results, and then you just send them into HydroCorp, and it'll all be on the letter, and then they'll put it in the file.
Okay, so two things. One, we would call a plumber. Any plumber can do that generally? Any licensed master plumber?
Have to be certified and tested.
Okay.
Typically, not any plumber, but typically any plumbing company has a master plumber, and that master plumber will have somebody on staff that
Certified in
is a
cross
licensed
connection.
backflow preventer tester, yes. But
Right,
no,
and-
not any plumber can do that. They have to have a special license for the backflow preventing testing, but typically any plumbing company at least has one person on staff to be able to do that.
All right, and then as a homeowner, I should wait for that letter from HydroCorp before I contact a plumber or master
Yeah.
plumber that can do
Yes.
that. I should wait
Yeah.
for the letter. I should not go out and do that
Wait.
myself ahead of time.
Right, I would wait for the letter, that way you know exactly where to send the results.
Thank you. All right, that's all.
Councilwoman Baranski.
Mr. Mayor, I was just going to call the question,
Yes.
or call the motion, I should say,
So we do have a motion and a
and a second.
second on the floor. I'll bring it out to the audience. Any comments or questions? Bring it back for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Item E, budget amendments. Elaine, is Vincent going to handle this, or?
So this,
What about D? D?
E and D.
I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, I looked the wrong water one. I'm sorry, I skipped over that water.
we've got the next one here. So this is a proposal for professional
Water
services.
reliable study proposal.
Another proposal for professional services from AEW. This is for the water distribution system reliability study and general plan update. You have the information before you, the proposal that they have provided for this study and the services as part of that. The fee for the professional services, they are looking to do a lump sum of $17,500. And then the anticipated budget for the Fireflow field testing work is an additional $4,500, so the anticipated budget for this project is $22,000. So looking for approval for the contract in the amount of $22,000. And once again, Scott Lockwood is here if you have any questions regarding this particular proposal.
Councilwoman Kolka.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any questions. I just want to make the motion to a motion with regard to the water reliability study proposal in the amount of $22,000. Is this for only 1 year? Is it 1 year?
Yes, it's to be done by December 31st of this
Okay.
year.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Motion and second. Councilman Lessig.
Yes. Is there any reason this hasn't been done since 2007?
Well, not really, but most recently, we had talked with Eagle and indicated that we were going to be putting in the PRVs, and that's the primary element, to wait till the PRVs were done. Now we'll do fire flow testing in order to remodel your system and calibrate it.
Okay.
So that's the primary reason it's being done at this time.
Okay, but I saw that it was required every 5 years, is that correct?
Yes.
So whose responsibility is that to kind of gin that project up? Is that be the DPW superintendent?
Typically, yep.
Okay. So in 2012 and 2017, we were supposed to update that as well. And then Mike gave us some fire flow diagrams a couple years ago regarding the Fruhoff project. Is that the fire flow diagrams that would be 2007?
Well,
They were
probably-
maps and they had.
Sure, they were
colors on
updated. It's
them.
basically the model, and the model is, the biggest part of this is updating the model. But that would have been updated to reflect any new water mains that have gone in since 2007, when it was most recently
Okay,
updated.
but if nothing else had gone in, that would be the two, we would be looking at.
Yes, you are
2007.
correct. Yep.
And once this is done, we should see updated fire flow for the entire city.
Exactly. It really looks almost like a contour map. It shows you available fire flow.
Right.
You know, different colors so you know where your highest or
Yeah, the mayor explained that to me, and it was like fascinating. So, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Councilman Lessig, I just want to jump in real quick. As part of this reliability study, one of the mandates from Eagle is for us to define 3 goals to set for our water system. Mike Vigneron and I have set those goals. The first goal we have set is to reduce drastically the amount of water main breaks that we've had, and knock on wood, we have not had one single water main break since the installation up and running of the PRVs.
Yeah.
Number 2 was to be to be in compliance with everyone, to have no violations. So thus, with implementing the residential cross connection program, we would be in 0 violation. And number 3 is to reduce our water lossage rate, and we plan on doing that by replacing a lot of the commercial water meters that need to be replaced due to age.
Thank you.
comment not asked, but Mark and I talked about earlier. I think Mark said you had 49 breaks between, was it July of 2020 to March of 2021? Since PRVs have been in, you haven't had any. So it looks like those PRVs are very effective as anticipated, but it's good to know.
And that was the decision point for me, is that this substantial reduction in water main breaks, and I think 0 is a substantial reduction.
So far, absolutely.
I'm glad to
It
see
took
it.
a long time to get them up and running.
Yeah.
Each one of those water main breaks roughly cost the city $8,000. So between June of last year and March of this year, the city had 49 water main breaks. So since March of this year, again, knock on wood, we have not had a water main break.
Great. Thank you.
Considering they're most on my street, I would appreciate that. We had 5 one winter on my street.
You made a motion? Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any
No, we don't have a motion, nobody.
You made the motion.
Oh, I thought we were on the next one, the 2020, oh. Whoops,
So you good?
I'm good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions from the audience? I'll bring it back for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Scott.
Item D, 2022 water main replacement proposal.
So this is the final proposal we have tonight from AEW. So this is kind of a continuation of some of the replacement efforts that had begun prior to me starting my position here as city manager. The proposal here is for really working 3 streets and an easement, that being the Vincent easement and Springport, Winsome, and Airport. The project is estimated to be $2,073,650. Of that, the portion for engineering costs is $314,900. That being the design engineering, the construction staking, contract administration, inspection, and testing and lab services. Once again, Scott is here if you have any additional questions regarding this proposal.
Mayor Pro Tem Winawiki.
Is this a budgeted item, or is this?
You know, I'm not sure if this is a budgeted item or not. I know that we do have some budget amendments on for tonight. Moving forward with this, I know that we're gonna have some budget amendments coming up again in the future, probably, I would say probably sometime around December, so we'll be doing some budget amendments. If we do start working on this, that likely will be something that we'll do a budget amendment for. It will be coming out of the water and sewer fund.
Okay. And is there a current surplus in the water and sewer?
There is considerable funds there to be able to cover the costs for this.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is Vince still on? Can he answer that question?
I'm not sure if Vince would have those particular numbers in front of him right now.
Councilman Lesage?
Yes, I had a question about the Spring Court, Winston and Airport. We're using an open cut, and as opposed to we did pipe bursting last time on that. And that was a rather intrusive project that took a long time with the pipe bursting. So would this be, are we using ductile iron for these residential streets? Or
That is the intent, with the exception of the
that would
easement.
have less disruption throughout the neighborhood? It wouldn't be a huge construction project all summer? Or
It's not necessarily going to be less disruption, because it will be open cut, so every place where there's a water main, there will be excavation.
it'll be a different disruption?
Correct.
Okay. And why would we choose that? And I'm not choosing one or the other. Why would we choose this open cut versus pipe bursting?
Well, I believe the intent is that the community would prefer to go to ductile iron. I think particularly with some of the issues that came up on the 14 Mile and the Utica Road water main projects. And ductile iron really doesn't have, because of its rigidity, doesn't have a pipe bursting or directional drilling option.
Okay.
You got to go to plastic pipe if you're going to do that.
Okay. Very good. And if we do, last question, promise. If we do open cut, then we did it along the sidewalks, we would be replacing sidewalks at the same time?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and the location exactly hasn't been determined yet, so, but yes, we would be.
You
If it
said
was a-
possibly under, it says possibly under the sidewalks.
Yes, yep.
If that was
It
the
would be
case, then
included.
sidewalks would be included in this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great. All right.
Okay, well, I guess we're just looking for a motion.
Let me,
Councilwoman Baranski.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 water main replacement proposal as set forth in the packet.
second.
We have a motion and second. Any comments and questions from the audience? I'll bring it back to council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item E, budget amendments. Councilwoman Kolka.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just have a couple of questions about the budget amendments. It indicates about 3/4, well, almost half, just a little bit farther down than half. It talks about the DPW water certifications, sewer certifications for DPW employees. I know that this is obviously before yourself or Mark came on. We had an issue with not having anyone that was water certified. Is this something that has taken place since Mark has come on board, or is this something different, or do you know?
This is a lot of additional training based on deficits that Mark Ragsdale has found when he's come on board, taking a look at all the training and certifications that all the DPW staff have. So there are a number of things that they have to have some of this critical training, and that's what a portion of this is, along with some of the conferences and other training for other staff, the department heads and supervisor.
So my question is that since Mark's been on board, then, did we send some other employees to go get water certification? Is that my?
We've started that process.
I see, and that was because other than Mark, there was no one else that had that type of certification, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So fair to say then that when he was brought on board, he took a look to see who needed what going forward, because you said there were some deficiencies within the DPW that needed correction or needed more certifications for other individuals within our DPW department so that other people could do the same jobs.
Yes, and also so that they have the proper training to do the jobs that they're doing now.
Yes, no, that makes sense.
To make it safe.
Okay, so now we have, how many employees have water certification in the DPW?
We have 3.
3. Okay, and prior to you coming on board, we didn't have any other than maybe one?
They had 1.
Okay. All right. And then the sewer certifications as well, did that also change in terms of the amount of individuals who are sewer certified?
There are no sewer certifications that are required.
Oh, I see,
Not-
that's just extra.
Yeah, so your sewer certification would be if you work in a wastewater treatment plant. They're not required for a local municipality, because we're not treating the wastewater.
Okay.
But that being said, when I came in, I made a spreadsheet of all the, excuse me, all the training and classes that each individual in the department would need. The only thing that we were in compliance with was CPR. So I'm having to start from scratch. As a matter of fact, next week we got trenching and shoring training. So there's an extensive amount. We just recently had them certified for the aerial platform truck, which is what we trim the trees in. Same thing with a forklift, our industrial truck. We have to have things like lockout, tagout, bloodborne pathogen, lead and copper training, asbestos awareness. There's a lot. So I have a extensive spreadsheet, and we've been knocking it out left and right. Very proud of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that tremendously. And I appreciate you being awake at the switch and making sure that our guys and our gals are doing what they need to do so that they are certified and they have the proper training. That is all the questions that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lessig.
Yes, Mark, oh, he's gone. But just one thing, the shoring and trenching and all of those kind of classes they're not as extensive as a sewer or water licensing. Water licensing takes more than just a course. It takes time, experience. And you came with one, and I believe Melissa did too.
Absolutely.
And we have three right now? And
we do, and you're correct. So just to, when you attend a shoring or safety class, it's a mandate that you have to be in compliance with MIOSHA, okay? And you'll get X amount of credit CECs for that class toward your license if you have a license. But it's something that's required. Some are required annually, some are biannually, some are every 3 years. Depends on what the class is. But when you're referring to the S license, your water distribution license, that's an extensive amount, because there's the classes are. I've been holding some of the classes myself, and been training our employees on things that they need to prepare for the test. We just signed a few of them up for classes that they attend on Wednesday night on their own time. We have, I think it's around five employees that expressed interest in getting their S certifications.
Great.
You start out with a 4, you work your way up to a 1. When you have an S1, you can run a water distribution system anywhere in the state. Currently, I have a 1. Melissa, our supervisor, has a 3, and Brett Nesbitt, one of our employees, has a S3 as well.
Okay. How long does it take to go from an S4 to an S1?
It depends on how hard you study and if you pass the test or not. Typically, the tests are offered twice a year, typically in May and November. And you start out with the 4, and you work your way up to a 1. If you pass the 4, then you're approved to next time to take the 3. But usually people pass the 3 and the 4s. It's the 2 and then the 1 that most people I know don't pass them on the first round. I didn't pass either one of them on the first round myself.
Okay, so it's a multi-year process to get a water
Absolutely.
distribution license and move up the chain. All right,
Yes.
thank you. Glad we're getting that taken care of.
Thank you.
Okay. As far as the additional spending on these budget amendments, the additional spending is $401,530. About $399,000 of it is general fund. And it's unfortunate we didn't see that during the budget process, because some of these are things that we missed, like healthcare opt-out budget, and the pension. There was some pension miscalculations. So it's the revised budget as presented. With these adjustments, we will be spending about $4 million more out of general fund than we had anticipated, or actually $4 million now versus $3.6 million in the hole. So just wanted to say that it's unfortunate that we're asked 2 months into the budget year to add $400,000 in budgeted expenses. And most of them are not optional. Healthcare opt-out, pension increase. There was a couple things that were just put in the wrong account, and I pointed those out to Vince. Like the OPEB, the $200,000 that was voted by council to put into pension was into OPEB, so that's why it's minus $200,000, and it added $200,000 over to DPW. So that's a wash. The one thing it is concerning, I did have a question about the wages. We are adding $129,000, $949,000 in budgeted wages to this budget. I think all of those are in general fund. And I had one line item on here that I had a question, clarification on. It was for communication associate, estimated 25 hours, $25 per hour at 29 hours per week. When we approved a communications associate, the notes I had said it was a $15 to $20 an hour part-time position. Is that the same position that we approved last month? That went from 15 to 20 to $25?
Is Vince still on the line?
Okay.
About Amy Sell.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the line. I can look into that and try to get back to you on that. We are currently reviewing resumes right now, and there is a range between 15 and 25. So I think when Vince asked me for an updated number, I wanted to put the most conservative number in there based on the resumes that I'm actively reviewing.
We will keep them in line with what was stated at the previous meeting.
Well, I'd just like to be updated as this changes, because part-time wasn't specified in terms of hours. This is almost 3/4 of a full-time position, so it's a lot of money. The other question I had about scanning, the scanning of records, that was everything upstairs. We're going to clean up the upstairs and.
Building department.
Okay. All right. And then there was a error on the revenue calculation for PA 33 in the math of it, and that's why it went down by $114,000. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Shornack.
Just really quick, because Mr. Lessig brought up the scanning, and the rest of the council can correct me, but didn't the former city manager state that it was going to be something that the company we brought in was going to be scanning all that as a courtesy to us, and we were not going to be charged for that?
I can answer that, because I spoke with McKenna and Associates about that, and it was clarified that, yes, our previous city manager did make that comment, and he did say that the associates, when not busy, would be taking care of all that scanning.
At no cost to the city, correct?
At no cost, because they were already on staff and on retainer. That did not happen. And as a result, we have, as you saw, or you'll see in the proposal, hundreds of boxes, hundreds of thousands of boxes of documents and files and drawings and permits and everything else that has never been scanned in.
Oh, I know it needs to be done. I was just.
Yep.
And they were supposed to do this when we weren't doing inspections or anything because of COVID for the 2 months City Hall was closed. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Elaine and I talked about it today in our meeting, and I was actually surprised when we talked about it and found out that all those boxes were still upstairs, not touched, so it did not get done. So we just have to move forward now and get it done and make sure that we get everything scanned and get everything up to date, because it's now probably 5 to 10 years behind.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Mike, did you have your light on?
I was just going to add one thing about the building department. That scanning is a big job, and my understanding was that they were going to be doing the building department. That was my expectation. That didn't happen, and I do remember the conversation. In McKenna's defense, because they did come across a lot of other things when they got into the building department. They found $200,000 or so in unreimbursed bonds. They did go through that as part
Oh,
of
it wasn't
their-
about them, just so you know.
No, I'm just saying that I understand
Okay.
what it's about. But what I'm saying is that McKenna did end up cleaning all of that up as well. And that was an additional project that was not anticipated by them when they walked in the door. So just wanted to say that while they may not have done the scanning, they did this other thing that was completely unexpected and was a benefit to the people that had paid a bond and not received a refund. So just clarifying.
Okay, we need a motion for those budget amendments.
All right, I'll do it. All right. I would like to make a motion to approve the budget amendments as indicated in our packet, subject to maybe the clarification that Mr. Lesich asked about the,
Communication.
yeah, communication, I know, which one was it, professional, it was the,
It's just the
When
high
was
end
it,
of the
Mike?
range.
Communications associate.
communications associate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Bransky?
Yeah, I prefer to have it be too much, so we don't have to come back and amend it again. I think that's what Amy Sell was trying to do, was put it as worst-case scenario, but so for that reason, I wouldn't support the motion. Because I'd rather just do all of the amendments as proposed.
Any comments and questions from the audience? I see none, I'll bring it back for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
Let's see. Item F, public safety body camera proposal. Ms. Levin, you can handle this one. Mr. Bisbee is not available.
I can certainly do the best that I can. You kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop, trying to separate out the body cams versus the patrol cameras, so I'll certainly do the best that I can to answer questions about that. Lieutenant Bisbee did put together this proposal regarding the patrol cameras and the body-worn cameras. He did get information about a couple of companies, those being Axon and WatchGuard. Spent quite a bit of time doing a little bit of homework and research on both of these two firms for the body cameras in particular. So what we have before us is a proposal that he recommends purchasing the body cameras and patrol car cameras through WatchGuard for a total purchase price of $163,075, which is broken into annual payments of $32,615.
Councilwoman Shornack.
I just want to make sure that if this is approved, that we are taking it from the correct fund, which is like, we all discussed the drug forfeiture fund. So I just want to make sure that that would be where those funds would be coming from.
So he has it outlined in his memo that it will be coming out of the Public Safety Capital Outlay account.
But we're going to need a fire truck, so why wouldn't we take it? I mean, the mayor has pointed that out multiple times, that we're going to need a fire truck, so why wouldn't we take it out of the drug forfeiture? Honestly, I would, well,
I think it has to come out of the gambling fund, not the drug forfeiture.
And I know.
Either one.
okay, either one of those.
I know that we've had that
Yeah.
come up prior, and certainly that's something, if it's an eligible expense, we can shift it to that fund, no problem.
Okay, yeah, I would, if approved, I'd rather have it come out of there, and then, maybe I missed it, but I know you said it was going to be 30-something thousand a year, so are we splitting that up over 3 years, and how long is this anticipated to last? Because in our country, it seems like we warranty everything for a year because we know we're making crap and you're going to have to buy a new one in a year, like our cell phones. So I'm just worried if we're going to be allocating it over 3 years, is it going to, did I miss the
Actually
warranty?
allocated over 5 years.
Oh, good God,
and
that's
at the 3-year point, we are eligible to have the cameras replaced
At no cost?
at no cost.
So the warranty is 3 years or 5 years?
So the proposal
miss
starts on, I think, page 1 and 2 has the proposal from WatchGuard for each particular line item for the body cameras, the in-car cameras, all of the other things that we need to have to be able to make this a fully functioning system. If you take a look at it, there is information about the warranties. I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm on page 3 of the thing, so hold on. I'm trying to find where it said about the warranties, because I just must have missed it.
So, like, under the item for the body-worn cameras at the very bottom, it says subscription, support, and warranty. It says a 5-year agreement billed quarterly and annually.
Okay,
And no
yeah,
fault
5-year, no fault.
hardware
Okay.
warranty.
I missed it, sorry. Okay, I just wanted to know, because I'm like, if we're going to amortize this over 5 years, this stuff's got to last 5 years, be warranted at least 5 years. That's what kills me about, like, our technology. It just absolutely drives me insane. You think people want to build something of quality, but not anymore. Okay, thank you so much.
Mayor Pro Tem Winnicky.
Yeah, so I don't really have any problem with the car cameras because I totally understand that they're way outdated and they need to be replaced. I'm more concerned with the body cameras. And I have a question actually for Don. Getting body cameras, you feel that this is going to put us in a higher level of protection from lawsuits, or is that still kind of a debate that's still out there? Because I know a lot of communities are not using body cams.
You know, it's a good question. I don't know that I have an opinion on that yet. I think the jury might still be out when you talk about lawsuits. Bad metaphor, but my initial reaction to those is usually more from a FOIA and a discovery point of view in terms of retention, server space, cost to provide copies, those kinds of little details that come up with all of the criminal cases we have and all of these civil requests that we get through FOIA or otherwise through subpoenas and things in litigation. As far as protecting the city versus not, yeah, I think it is a debatable issue. I think there are times when body cameras will absolve and show definitively something a claim not to be true. And there are times when a body camera recording will be misinterpreted or show things from an angle that you see it one way, but it really didn't happen that way. I mean, it's really, over the course of my career, I remember a video, to give you an anecdote, I remember a video of a gentleman being asked out of his semi-truck by several police officers. And when he got out of the truck, he was providing some resistance. It wasn't physical in nature, but the video actually it depicted an officer who looked like he was swinging something at the gentleman's knee. And that wasn't the case at all. But the video just had that illusion to it. It just had a look to it that, and I've never forgotten that video, and we could never explain why our eyes perceived that video to show something that never happened. So, yeah, I don't have a great answer legally for you. I think there are times when it's of extreme value, and I think there are times when it neither helps and sometimes could even perhaps hurt the city from a liability perspective. I think one thing proponents would argue, though, is at least you have the video, right? I mean, if it's liability that the city should incur, at least we have the video. That's what many would argue. And I think officers, I don't know if they're divided on it. They run into some operational issues as far as turning it on, turning it off. I think our officers have adapted, those who have it and their departments have adapted to using it, just as they had to adapt to turning on their microphones when they had traffic stops and things, and getting used to that kind of recording. So Sorry for the long answer. I don't have a perfect answer for that. It's a great question that I don't have a perfect answer for.
And I have a follow-up for Elaine. Lieutenant Bisbee said, and this kind of concerned me in his letter, he says that he talked to the guys and only one person responded. And I would like to really dig into that a little bit deeper and see what the officer's preference would be, actually. And I'd like to have somebody independent of the department actually perform that survey with the officers. Because it's been my experience that when you run ideas by your subordinates and you're the boss, you get told one thing, but if you get them all in a room somewhere else and someone else asks the same question, you might get a totally different answer. So before I could support the use of body cams, I would like to see more information on how the patrol officers would, if they welcome them and they feel that because they're the ones out there in the line of duty, they're out there facing all the public and all the dangers, and if they feel that that would be a benefit to them, then I say we put the tools in the right place in the right hands. But if they don't feel it's going to be a benefit to them, because put that thing right here on your chest and you're running after somebody or you're trying to tackle somebody, I just see more potential injury. But I don't know. I'm not a cop. So.
No, nor am I. I know that he did reach out to the officers and talk to them about the potential of cameras. And like he mentioned in his memo, the only feedback that he got was from one person.
From one person, yeah. And that's why I thought it might be better to really, if we could dig a little bit deeper and have maybe, I don't know if Amy Sell is on, but maybe even Amy Sell, because she's independent. She's HR. I mean, this really does kind of become an HR issue too, so.
Yeah, well, that's kind of why we do have it divided, so if we wanted to move on one thing, you can move on one thing and, wait for more information on the second item and move on that at a later time.
So with that, I'd like to make propose that we approve the in-car portion of this proposal and get those updated quickly. And as I understood and read all the data, if we decide to go with the body cams later, this system is already set up just to adapt right. So my motion would be to approve the in-car camera.
Second.
Second. Councilwoman Baranski?
We can call the motion on the, mine's on the other thing, so, yeah. I'll defer until we're done. Sorry. I'll let you turn it
Yeah,
off.
don't touch.
Yes, sir.
It's confusing
Or
enough
yes,
for him.
sir.
I do have names on them all now.
I know, oh, yay. Sorry.
Now just remember it's a he or she thing.
Thank you, Mary. Well,
You can call me whatever. You can call me.
okay. So we do have a motion and a second for the cameras in the vehicles at this point. Councilman Lessig?
Yes. Can you clarify what the amount is and the vendor that we're approving in the motion?
You got it up quicker than me.
No, I thought it was Axiom, but I don't.
No, it's not.
There's two.
Right. This is WatchGuard
WatchGuard.
by Motorola. And the cost for this is $82,999 or $82,990.
From WatchGuard
WatchGuard.
for patrol car cameras only?
Yes.
Correct.
I have 82,740.
No, it's 82,9. The total price is 82,990. Oh, deferred amount 82,740.
So WatchGuard would be the company, and the total amount would be $82,740. Was there 59 cents on there somewhere?
Nope.
No,
That's it.
no, it's a total payment of
80.
5. 5 total payments of $16,548.
$82,740.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a motion and second. Details have been confirmed. Any comments and questions from the audience? Bring it back for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilwoman Baranski.
Yeah, now with regard to the body cameras, I agree with Councilmember Winowicki. I feel like in some ways we're putting the cart before the horse because we want to buy the equipment, but we haven't heard what the policies and procedures are going to be for use. Are they going to be on 24/7? Who's going to wear them? These are our employees who have absolute privacy rights and have expectations with regard to discipline, with regard to if they're sitting in the locker room and make an offhanded comment, and it's now, is it forever recorded? I don't know if they run 24/7. But I'd want to see, and I know that this issue, I believe, actually came up from our interim city manager, Mark Thompson. So I like that we're starting the process, but I'm not ready to buy the stuff because I'm with Dave. We've been told before that the PSOs didn't want something. We did a blind survey and 99.999% said they wanted it. So I want to see from them, not because we're going to do what they want, because we may decide collectively that the policy is good to have or not have, but we can take into consideration their concerns when creating the policy, because they have to wear them. And if they're concerned about discipline, or they're concerned about being able to turn them off when they go to lunch, or they're concerned about whatever, if you do a survey right, you can get a lot of ideas that then Don or Ryan or whoever can help to formulate. The other question I have is, can we make them wear them? Has anyone run this by the labor lawyer? Can we change? Is this a practice issue? I don't know the answer, but we're learning a lot of things we can't do as we try to make some changes. So I want to know that, because we don't want to spend this money if we have to negotiate it.
Right.
And so those are definitely my concerns. I don't know where I fall on the spectrum, for or against, and I'll look forward to a debate on that. But before we get there, I want to know how we're going to use them before I can say, yes, let's use them. Thank you.
That's fair. Councilwoman Kolka.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with that totally, 100%. I don't know which side I would pick. I want to know what the police officers want, at least for me, whether or not, that's something that they would wear if they're interested in it, versus spending the money now and finding out that we can't even use them. So I agree, we need to wait.
Okay, anybody else? Because we'll just leave this as no action taken at this time until we look at it further. No sense even tabling it. We just might as well just no action on.
Yep.
Councilman Lessig?
Yes, if we're not table it, but if we're not taking any action on it, I think it would do well if we could provide clear direction to the administration on what the expectations of information are, to come back to the council so that we could move this forward in any direction. But, so I understand the idea about policies. I think that's a good idea, but what direction would we want to give the administration so they have an expectation of a deliverable that would meet the council's expectations?
Right, exactly.
I think I'm pretty clear on it, working on developing some policies and procedures and doing a survey, seeing what the feedback is from the officers that would be wearing these cameras. And, also, I think making sure that it's something that's going to fit within the union contract as well.
And I would think you'd reach out to other cities and
I was
find
just
out
gonna
how
say
they do it. Like, I don't know what the policies and procedures need to be. But does Roseville do it? Does Warren, and if they do, how do they do it?
I know they've done a lot.
That would be what I would expect when this proposal was brought to us, was a comprehensive package.
Yeah, I know that they've done a lot of that legwork already.
Perfect.
Working kind of on figuring out what camera system was going to work best, talking to other communities, seeing what works for them, what doesn't. I know a lot of communities have policies in place already, so it should be something that can be put together fairly easily.
Awesome.
Just want to make sure you
I've
had a
even
clear
heard-
idea what we're
Yes,
looking for. Thank
I've
you.
even heard that some communities who don't do it don't allow their mutual aid communities to use them in their community. So they have to turn them off when they go into that community. So, you know, we have to make sure that, you know, because if they don't use it as a policy, but yet they're getting all the officers from other communities, you know, so it's just another question to look at. So. Councilwoman Shornack?
With regards to that too, I add in there because I read the memorandum with regards to the storage. I know. With regards to the storage, I would like that added in there too, because if we're not gonna have enough room for the storage of the videos, we're gonna wanna get that before we get the equipment as well. So I know it said that that was a problem, so we should probably add that into what we're going to need as well.
Part of this proposal includes cloud storage, so that's something that, moving forward with the motion that you have made, parsing that out, it might be a little bit lower than what your motion was.
Yeah, like I said, but we need to have that there before we could move forward with those anyway, so may as well get that done at the same time.
Okay. So you have good direction, Eileen?
I do, thank you.
Okay. Item 7H, imaging scanning proposal.
So you have the proposal before you from Bruce Eck, the building official, regarding scanning of the building department files that we talked about a little bit earlier in tonight's conversations. The proposal that he has before us, he recommends that we go with Ameriscan to complete the scan project for $41,925. If it's done in 1 calendar year, it can also be broken out into 2 calendar years. I think it is going to probably take quite an extensive amount of time. Obviously, this is something that we just did a budget amendment for, so we could do it within 1 year and try and get it done as soon as possible. There's a lot of great benefit that is going to come from scanning all of these building documents. It's going to make things easier from the perspective of any type of code enforcement, for any type of changes or modifications that any businesses or residential are going to have to come to the planning or building department for. It's also going to make it easier from a perspective of FOIA, so that we will be able to get the information in a faster, more timely manner. And if we do have FOIAs regarding any of this information, since the documentation will be electronic, it will save money for the residents as well.
Yeah. I don't know how you would find anything now anyway, to be honest with you.
It's challenging. It's very challenging.
So I guess we're just looking for a motion to,
Oh, we got lights.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposal to utilize Ameriscan at the cost of $41,925. And as far as the time frame, I would say do your best to, if we can get it within the year, then fantastic.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Councilman Lethbridge?
Yes, well, I think we, actually, the budget amendment anticipated paying for it all in one budget year. Question I would have is, there's a document on demand application, $1,250 a year. Does that price include that basically on cloud-based search? Cloud-based portal. That's versus, I'm on page, let's see, on page 196 of 238 in the, and it's access to files after scanned, and having a cloud-based portal. Is that cloud-based portal included in this price? Because I think, no. I would think that that's a very handy tool, and I would ask that the motion maker add the $1,250 a year versus getting a USB portable drive and then having to send that over to the city and then upload it versus a cloud-based portal.
That is just an estimate, because it's all based upon how much space
Storage.
it takes up for all these documents for scanning. Sorry. That is just an estimate, because it's based upon how many documents and what the file size is and the space required.
So we don't know what the actual cost is?
We won't know.
Ah, it's based on, So there's no, we're not doing the documents on demand at this point?
So the proposal and what he has here for that recommended amount does not include that. We will actually get all of the files for our own records. So we would be able to easily provide documentation to any type of resident. So if they have any type of request or anything.
Okay.
So there'd be no ongoing reoccurring costs for any type of cloud storage or anything like that.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. Any comments and questions from the audience? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7I, Title VI Coordinator Appointment.
This is a requirement.
She gets a new hat already.
Yes, yes. This is a requirement through the federal government if we are working on any projects that receive federal funding, which we do work on projects, road-related projects through MDOT and the county. So we have to have a Title VI coordinator, and typically it is the county clerk because they are the keeper of records. So I'm recommending that we appoint the city clerk, Cynthia Grenia, as the Title VI coordinator for the city of Fraser.
Great. Councilwoman Blanky.
I would like to make the motion to appoint the city clerk Cynthia Grenia as Title VI coordinator for the city of Fraser.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions from the audience? Cynthia, do you accept? Okay. Just thought I would ask to make sure.
Particulars.
That's right.
So we have to do an all in favor first?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Cynthia.
Can we take a break before we go to outstanding and unfinished?
Sure. Item J, hiring subcommittee appointments.
So I think we had good success utilizing a hiring subcommittee for the previous department heads. And this is something moving forward, a process that I think we need to really make sure that it is concrete and everybody is in full understanding of the process that we're doing for hiring the department heads. The previous subcommittee that we used was Lesich, Carnegie, and Baranski. I think at this point, we just need to make sure that we either appoint the same people and move forward with that process, or I know that Lesich is going to be stepping down as he's not running again. So I don't know if you'd want to consider to have anyone else appointed for those positions. So that's all I'm looking for tonight is just either reaffirmation or new people that would want to be appointed to the hiring subcommittee.
And we talked about, especially this time with the director's position, getting the process down first and going forward. So it's probably pretty important to get this team together. So, Councilwoman Shornack.
I think to have the subcommittee is great, but I don't think it should be any three people. I think it should be like what three people are available at that time for that particular position. So I think it should be kind of an organic moving thing, especially if we are getting a new person, since we're going to be getting a new individual. You know, obviously they might want to jump in. If I have time, I might want to. So I don't think it should always be the same three people. I just think it should be on the want and the availability of those individuals at that time.
And the next one that we would anticipate would be finance director.
Right.
So I can see.
Like, I would probably want to do that one, depending on who the other person is that gets elected. I'm sure one of them is an accountant, so I'm sure that would be a great benefit. So, you know.
So I
the
know
case.
we've had issues that, you know, time is of the essence and we want to
Right.
be able to move quickly.
Right, that's what I'm
And
saying, just like
Just trying
instantly.
to find out really the process moving forward. Is that something where I could put out a call for people to be on the subcommittee outside of a meeting, or do we need to have a meeting to?
No, I think that would be perfect. That's what I would say. For myself, I think you should just send an email, hey, who wants to be on the hiring committee for this particular position? Let me know who's available. I don't think that would violate anything.
What are you doing at 4?
A general blast email to
First
all
come, first
council, or would that be individual emails to council to say, are you available?
It can be a general blast. There's no Open Meetings Act issues with that because it's just a request for volunteers to
Yeah.
participate in the process.
Councilwoman Baranski.
I disagree with that proposal, because what do you do when you have 4 or 5 people that want to participate? And that puts Elaine, I apologize.
Okay.
In a precarious position. I think it's something that can be fluid in that it can change. It's not an indefinite appointment, obviously, because with the vote of 4, it can change at any point in time. But I agree, I think it should be more concrete. And I was just going to indicate, until I heard it was finance, I was willing to serve again, but it's not my wheelhouse, but I'll do.
Well, that's why I'm saying first in, first out, like anything else. First to step up to volunteer, first to go. And then it can be, because I mean, I don't think the same people are always going to want to volunteer. Like, I know you did
Well, I'm
last time.
hopeful
I
that we
could
won't
this
have a
time.
lot of
Well, I am too. but-
need. I know we have one now. I will serve again, but I just feel like, I just fear the chaos that could happen.
If it changes every time it's a different person, then you don't see what you saw the first time.
Right.
Third time.
Yeah. And because we are all so amenable to each other, we don't ever want to step on each other's toes, I feel. Well, I don't ever want to step on anyone's toes, but at the same time, you know, you want to get interviews set, and then you can work with just the 3 people. Even before you've talked to the candidate, it's a lot easier to schedule. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, right now, we're working on kind of preliminary interviews for the finance director position, and really the next step would be going to this subcommittee of council. So really in a position where probably prior to the next meeting, we should be having interviews with the subcommittee. So maybe at this point, just selecting 3 members, knowing that it's going to be for the finance director position.
Councilman Lessig.
Yes, well, to clarify, if it was a fluid group, the informal on an email blast, it wouldn't necessarily be a committee. It would be just a group of people coming together to talk about something, so. But if we are doing something for the next, I don't know, I just want to make sure that we're not creating a committee of whoever wants to show up. And to your point, so I'm here for 2 more months. I knew a little bit about finance. I would be happy to serve for the next 2 months, and that would leave an opening for that committee after the election. That's an idea that I'd throw out there. If you don't want me, that's fine too. And, but I would like, I think for this position, the finance director, we've been waiting a very long time to find a full-time finance director, and this is important to get this done quickly. So if we could set up 3 people to do that in the next month or so before the next meeting, I think that would be prudent. So that's my thought.
Agreed.
Councilwoman Kolka.
Thank you, Mayor. So I see both sides of this argument, but I think every single one of us up here has a wheelhouse that they're good at. And so finance is not my forte, so if that's really what we're gonna be looking at for the next month or 2 months, because otherwise I tend to agree with Councilwoman Shornack. I think we're all outside of, here busy, and we're not always available, and I think it just kind of keeps the situation fluid versus having a bunch of different interviews. And I mean, we've done it before, so we could continue to do it again. And it worked. I mean, you can't expect to replace every single person and have every single person work out. That's just not realistic, especially with what we've had to go through. So if we're really going to be truly just looking at finance, then okay, it's not my thing. But if it, and I would I guess tend to agree with Councilwoman Baranski and Councilman Lessig as it relates to having those, if that's really what we're going to be doing, having 3 people for that purpose. But I think generally, I don't see any issue with just having a fluid situation and kind of, having it kind of go as necessary. So you're looking at me like you.
I was just waiting for him to call me light. No, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just wanted to clarify, because in my head, it isn't necessarily that we wouldn't, as a council of a whole, interview the final candidates. Are we all in agreement with that? Mm-hmm. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because that was what my expectation was. It was to help narrow it down so that then this council could decide whether to accept the recommendation, interview, whatever, but it's not that we wouldn't all be involved potentially.
I don't know.
We just wouldn't necessarily be interviewing, for example, 7 different city manager candidates as we did. Even though it worked, it was incredibly time-consuming for each of us, which is fine, and we did it, but it would be great. And it was nice because you get into a rhythm when you interview with the same people, and you narrow it down, and I think it worked well. Cynthia can hopefully confirm that. So I just wanted to confirm that part of it.
Yeah, I think the process worked well, having this subcommittee. So the subcommittee, they do kind of what could either be a preliminary or a final interview. If they come back with a recommendation to select one person, everybody agrees, that's one way to go. Or they come back and they say, well, we've got 2 really great people, we want to bring both of them before the full council.
Councilman Lessig.
As a compromise, what if we just set up this subcommittee to do this finance director position, and and then it expires on November 15th or whenever my term ends, and then but just for this particular, and try it, test run, and then.
It'd still be a committee, right?
Yeah, but it would be, we'd appoint 3 people, so she'd know who the go-to people are for this particular position.
Yeah, because I will need this committee within probably 2 weeks.
That was going to be my question, is when are we anticipating interviews starting?
Potentially 2 weeks.
Because is it something that we anticipate being completed by election?
So.
Well, I want to be
Completed prior
realistic.
to it, yes.
Yeah, okay, so I'm not adverse for this, and then we can kind of mull over permanent versus fluid for other, and hopefully there won't be any
sense
more.
anyway.
Yeah, since that's the only one we have right now.
Hopefully, it's the only one we're going to have for a long time.
Knock on wood. Oh, please.
We will do our best to make sure that happens.
That's right. It's not always up to us.
So at this point, I've heard that Mr. Lessig would be interested in this one. Shornack would be interested in this one, and we need one more.
I'll do it,
And Amy Baranski. So I nominate.
unless someone else wants to do it.
No, I'll go ahead and I'll nominate you 3 for the subcommittee for the hiring process of the finance director.
I would second that.
Second, I have a second. Any comments and questions from the audience? Bring it back to council. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, you have your committee. Item K, City Council Rules and Procedures. Mr. Denault.
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before you are some red line changes to your rules and procedures, your council rules and procedures that govern you as a group. Most of that stuff is from earlier this year, just in the transitions. It didn't get brought back to you, and now that we do have Elaine on board, I had a chance to go over things with her as well. And some of this is city council feedback. You were all asked to send me anything you had. So a few of these items were caught and amended based on your feedback individually to me. So the only one in the list, and they're mostly typographical things, minor clarifications, especially with the technology changes we've seen over the last year and a half. We adjusted the start time for city council meetings. And then the only one that really needs a tiny bit of attention from you is the 7.11 amendment. What I found going through this again is we had 2 sections in the rules that talked about, and it's funny that we're talking about standing committees because we just appointed 3 people to a committee, a subcommittee, not really a standing committee, I guess. But if we ever do have a standing committee, and I don't know that we do have any or have ever had any, but if we ever do, the charter says that they must consist of a minimum of 2 council people. So there wouldn't be one single council person on a standing committee. But we also had a section that said it would consist of a minimum of at least 3 council members. So the charter says the minimum is 2. You can always make it 3 if you choose in practice. So I'm recommending that we just delete the 3 and leave the charter language in there. But if if council feels you like the idea that the minimum is always 3 and we should memorialize that here, we can do that for you as well. But there's really nothing else to go over, and certainly entertain any questions.
Councilwoman Shornack.
I would make a motion that we accept the changes as recommended by Mr. Denault
Second.
We have a motion and second.
to the council
Any
rules.
comments and questions on that motion from council?
I just have one question about 5.2 on time limits, and it's fairly arcane. It says, near the end of the meeting, citizen participation shall be permitted for up to 5 minutes on any city business. Is the public limited to speaking only on city business, or could they, as I've seen in other, particularly Berkeley, California, where people come up and they talk about UFOs and other things like that? Are we limiting their free speech rights at the end of the meeting? Did you say yes? We can't do that.
was joking.
That's why I'm asking.
Mr. Lessig, great question. The Open Meetings Act does not require us to allow folks to have a platform to discuss any and everything that's on their minds. Every community I've ever looked at, worked with, reviewed, limits it to information or discussion germane to city business. So obviously the council and certainly the chair of the meetings can decide if it's germane. If there was a UFO sighting in Fraser, for example, that might be germane to how our public safety department handles that information. But yeah, city business is important because you really do need to rein in and focus on the business of government and the business of the city.
That's fine. I just wanted to clarify that. And that in the ultimately the discretion of the chair has. Thank you. That's my question.
Mr. Levin?
I did have a question about section 4.4, the format for the agenda of the meeting. I was just wondering if there was a way that we could maybe change the order here a little bit. I feel that it's a little kind of disjointed when we have the report of city administration kind of between like old business and new business. I would prefer it if we moved that, it would be prior to the report of mayor, city council. And then also the naming of those couple items, request for council action to be called new business, and then the standing items, unfinished business, project status updates, maybe if that could be called something like returning business.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, yes, and yes.
We talked about it earlier in the meeting, actually, it
We
kinda
knew,
was that way, but it got somehow changed, and
right.
so we got it back to where.
We're like, this has been a work in progress because we wanted to have a lot of these standing things on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, suddenly all of a sudden you're reporting and 100% yes.
Yeah. So I just,
Do we need to amend the motion?
Just to
no,
point out,
she just wanted to make sure
I think Elaine has an old draft in front of her because I did switch that order.
Oh, you already.
At your request. Yeah, I think I did. So I don't, but I didn't change that word. So if council wants to change, but I do have, it goes request for council action, then the standing items line, then the city administration report, then the report of the mayor and city council, then citizen participation, which is
Perfect.
what you're asking, correct? To move
Yep.
report of city administration down.
That's perfect.
yeah.
But then you had a wording change, so.
Yeah, wording change from request for council action to be called new business, and then the standing items, unfinished business, project status updates to be called returning business. And I don't think that we need the new business
No.
where report of mayor, city council is, because that would be
That
covered
could come off.
at the beginning. Obviously, if there's something that you guys want to introduce that will be new business at the next meeting, that would be an opportunity for you to do
Yeah,
that.
that's just still part of council being, or it's a report of council.
I'm fine with that if it's okay with Don.
Yep.
No, we were good with
Just to
it.
summarize, so we'll go from consent agenda to the next item being new business, which is really just council action items, and then returning business, so we shorten the title of that long standing items, unfinished business, project status thing. And then we move into report of city administration, report of mayor, city council, citizen participation, closed session if required and approved, and then adjournment.
Right.
Perfect.
That work?
Yep.
Great, I'll make that change. If
Gotta vote on it, but
the vote goes 4-3.
I want to make sure it's okay with you guys.
I'm excited to see it already. This is good. This is what we've been asking for. Clarity.
That makes you excited.
Listen, I am all about the paper.
Okay, at this time, I've been asked to take away, you want a 5-minute,
Wait, we have to vote.
Wait,
I need a vote, Mr. Mayor.
Nah,
We need
it's
to
okay.
amend them,
Go
we
ahead.
don't need to amend anything
We
then.
had a motion to,
The changes as submitted.
as
by-
submitted, so the motion maker would have to agree to the changes we just discussed.
I thought she did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll say that's my motion and second it.
second, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Any comments or questions on the motion? Anything from the audience? We'll bring it back to council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Motion passed.
Minute break.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Take a 5-minute break.
Yay, thank you.
call the meeting back to order at 9:12 p.m.
Got it.
Item 8, report of city administration.
He's in trouble.
I called the meeting back to order at 9:13 p.m. Report of city administration.
Right, I've got a number of things to report on. First of all, there's going to be some construction at Garfield and 15 Mile. This is for the Interceptor rehabilitation, and that's going to be starting October 1st. It's going to be a project that's going to encompass about 15 months' worth of work. The schools and businesses in the area had been notified by the county, so this is a project that's going to have some lane closures, but they will be maintaining the intersection roads open in all directions. The Clemis computer has been, I think, ordered at this point. There is actually a little bit cheaper option that they are recommending, and we're going to see about a $3,000 savings on that computer. The auditors are going to be in the office next week, and then also on the 28th, and then again in November. So fortunately, Vince will have an opportunity to meet and work with them before he leaves. The replacement computer rollouts start next week, so IT Right will be in the office. I think it's next Friday, starting to do some of those replacements for the older computers that are no longer supported. We did check with IT Right about helping man our meetings. It's not really something that they normally do because that's more an audio-visual type thing. They said that if they could find someone to help staff it, the cost would be about $225 an hour, which I think is obviously very unrealistic. I also did reach out to Advanced Lighting and Sound a couple of times for this and other issues that we have outstanding. I've not received a return phone call at this point. Speaking of IT, we did get a refund from Inacomp, which was the previous IT company, the amount of $21,898.75. Lieutenant Bisbee really was pushing for that and made sure that we got the money back for that. The COVID funding, we are going to be getting $1.51 million, $757,000 of that we're going to be receiving within approximately 30 days.
How much? Sorry.
$1.51 million. We'll be getting $757,000 within about 30 days. One of the things that's going to be required is that we start developing a plan. We're going to have to, I think, have a preliminary plan in place by October 31st. So that's something that likely we'll be working with some of our consultants on preparing a plan. A little bit of park update. Pompo is 100% complete, as well as Boris. Meadows, they're still going to be working on the pavilion and picnic table, water area there. Harrington, they still need to raise the merry-go-round. I'm not sure if there are any other little issues there. They're still making some final improvements on that. Not sure if you noticed or not, we finally got the digital sign up and running.
Yes.
Figured out all of the pieces of the puzzle to that. I'd really like to thank Eric for helping out with that. He was very instrumental in doing that, and I appreciate all of his help. Working on putting together a street committee meeting. There have been quite a few questions, concerns, issues regarding street trees that are causing problems with sidewalks and sewer systems. This is something that we're going to start talking about with the street committee meeting and potentially moving it into a tree committee meeting. Another item that will be on the agenda, we'll be talking about some of the ditches in the community as well and who's required to do the maintenance for those. The fire bay floor, they came out today and started doing a little bit of preliminary cleaning to redo the top coat. There were some issues that it was maybe a little bit slippery than what they had intended to do, so they're coming out and doing that. Tomorrow, I think they should be doing the final completion of that. Comcast and WOW, as of, I think, a couple days after our last meeting, they're all back up and running. Everything should be running fine today. The issue that we had was from the power outage. There were probably some substations and things that just had not worked their way through to get the cable station up and running. I think we had the big power outage like a day before our last meeting. So hopefully we will not get any complaints and everybody's able to view this on Comcast and WOW.
Probably the cable in front of my house.
Yeah. The HVAC issues, we did have someone come out and do some HVAC issue repairs to the building. I guess the system that we have, there's a boiler that wasn't on, and the way that it was described to me is the system goes kind of back and forth between like heating and cool to really make the space comfortable. Tonight, it seems to be a little bit better. I don't know that we're really ever going to get perfect.
No.
We're just not being
This is
frozen
still,
out.
no, unacceptable. I'm going to bring a parka, I swear to God.
You're freezing?
I'm cold.
I got a skirt on. I'm
I'm
not
not going to have that conversation now. Just saying, nope.
I'm fine, and I'm always cold. Just saying. I think that's pretty much all that I have for my report tonight. I'm sure I'm probably missing a couple issues, just dealing with still some outstanding resident issues and getting back to people. Finding time to get back to people has kind of been a bit of an issue recently, but I think certainly with Cindy in the office, I'll be able to spend my time a little bit more wisely.
Great,
Thank
thank you. Councilman Lessig?
Yeah, I just have two questions. Granicus, are we streaming through Granicus at the moment?
We are not funding it right now, no. We don't even have the staffing or people that will be able to do anything for that. We're in a position now where we're barely on top of just doing our website. And obviously with bringing Cindy on board and then I think it's the IT communication position, I can't remember what it's called. that
Communications assistant.
Amy's working on. That's something that would, if we move forward with that again in the future, would be something that that person would be responsible for.
Okay, so where would the public go for, YouTube is the go-to channel at the moment for
For recording, yes.
city videos? Okay. And can I get at some point a current balance, fund balance for the capital improvement fund?
Sure.
That I would like to know where we stand now, and then I believe we're putting 1.7 million into that in this year's budget. So I'm just trying to get a feel for how much is in there. And if there's any projects that are funded through that at the moment other than what we funded. Anything coming up? Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, item 9, standing items and unfinished business and project status updates. Item A, 39th District Court Security Update.
I provided a memo to you from the court administrator, Donna Navarro. They need to make some required security updates to the 39th District Court building. This is something that would be funded by the Fraser District Court Operation Fund, and it is completely at the discretion and allocation of the chief judge for the purchases, and they are just really, I think at this point, I don't even know that this is a vote that we have to take. This is money that they are requesting out of this fund to make the security improvements to the building.
So with our discussion we had today, though, are we going to ask the question of,
It is the whole amount for.
it is the whole amount for us?
So I think what they do is they look and see where their fund balances are and talking about the projects and things that they need to do, because each community that participates in the district court, they all get the court fines, and that's, I think, the money that we get for that is dedicated for the building. So it is the full amount.
Okay, well, okay. Any questions on that? Okay, I see none. Park signage status update.
I spoke with the director or superintendent of the Public Works, Ragsdale, and he is still working on getting some information for the park signage. He's been a little bit busy with all of the park improvements that we've been doing and all the storm cleanup from every week of storms that we've been having, and some of the road improvements and things that we've been working on. Obviously, vacations have been an issue, and then also sicknesses, either just regular sicknesses, coronavirus. They've been shorthanded, so it's still on his list. He hasn't forgotten about it. He does want to do something a little more significant for the signs for the entry to Fraser, a little bit more of a monument-type sign.
So he's going to be doing a little bit more research on putting together some type of number and design for you for consideration for that.
Then Elaine, you might just mention to him, I know we talked about it today, and I talked to him about it also, but we should designate for the Fraser signs, which really ones we would want to do that too. Even though we may have 4 or 5, there's probably 3 that would be ideal to really do something with, but maybe not all 5. But we can decide that as a council.
Sure. Are you saying replace or?
Well, we're talking about replacing all of them, like with the park signs, but Mark's had the idea of more monumental signs, so there's, some key ones like by Meyer and Entrance, but there's some that are actually hidden, that really nobody sees, and there's not enough property to really do something with. So why get a quote for 5 signs when we may not want to do 5? We may just want to do 3, so, because it probably will be a lot more costly than normal, but. Okay, item C, Southeast Regional Emergency Services Authority, also known as CERISA, update.
So CERISA hasn't met for the last 4 months. They are going to be meeting again on September 20th and really kind of picking up the idea of us becoming an actual member instead of just a contractual obligation. One thing, though, that we will have on the next agenda is the extension for the 1 year. The contract never actually came before council for approval. You guys did budget an amount. The number that they have for a final number is actually a little bit lower than what that budgeted amount is, so we'll have that on the next agenda for your approval.
Okay. Item D, Library Property Transfer Update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that one's mine.
Yep.
Time blurs together, but I believe since the last meeting, I have met with the lawyer for the library board and the surveyor to make sure we have the property surveyed correctly and everybody understands what it will look like when the transfer is complete. We have a very nice, very nice is the right word, a very good comprehensive purchase agreement in place to be presented to you soon. The only hiccup, if you want to even call it that, is I heard from the lawyer today. They are still evaluating the needs of the building in terms of roofing and HVAC and all the different things I think I've updated you on last month. And he's said he'll get back to me very soon. Once he does, we're hoping to present to you, I would think in October, a purchase agreement and a plan for the final transfer that builds into that document. I think I explained last month. Cost recovery for the city if we have to advance anything before then, or just the transfer for $1 as originally agreed upon, and then they'll take on the responsibility of capital improvements for anything they may need at that point. So that's kind of where it sits. As soon as I hear from that lawyer, we should be in good shape to move forward. We don't have any provisions in the agreement that are outstanding that aren't agreed upon. So it's just a matter of getting the board and the council to approve once we're ready to move forward with whatever plan they ask him to tell me to move forward with. So we're almost there.
All right. I thought you had a note for him you wanted to check. We're good?
No.
Okay,
I have questions.
go ahead.
I just want to make sure that, because I know you brought it up before, but I want to make sure that it's in the contract. That there's a reverter clause that if for some reason they're unable to fulfill their obligation, or they just choose not to, or whatever, the city does get the building back. They can't just arbitrarily go, we feel like selling it. I don't think they would ever do that, by the way. I'm just saying I want to make sure we don't run into that problem.
Right, and it's been very, very thoroughly discussed. Thank you for just bringing that up again to make sure we're all reminded of that. It's very, very thoroughly discussed because there is the possibility at some point that the library outgrows the space, right? And they decide to move to something bigger or maybe try to expand in some way. Whatever the case, if that building ever stops being used as a library, it's our building, we get it back. The only thing we had to negotiate on that, of course, is if they spend a lot of money on improving it and then they give it back to us in a year, there has to be some understanding that part of that benefit is on us to take over. So that'll be explained to you when we bring that agreement to you in terms of how we situated that. We don't expect anytime in the next few years the library would ever move or abandon the building, but you never know. So we've covered it very thoroughly.
Okay, item E, smoking at the senior housing update. Do you want to know, or you want to take it? Elaine?
So we just provided you some information tonight. This is something that I've been working on along with myself and Amy Sell. It's not something that we're looking for you to review or provide an answer or anything.
Whenever you hear that door open, you know he's coming for one of us.
He's just got to get a little buzzer.
That'd be great.
Don't give him any ideas.
So,
We'll have our seats
let me,
wired.
He's coming.
I'll start over with that again. So, I provided you a copy of what Don Denault, myself, and Amy Sell have been working on for the smoke policy, not only for the senior housing, but also for properties of the city. This isn't something we're looking for any type of motion or really even discussion on at this point in time, since you just got provided this information tonight. It will be something on the agenda for the next meeting that we'll be discussing. There's a resolution included for your consideration and to take a look at and provide any type of feedback, possibly prior to the meeting, would be very helpful. And then also a draft letter that we would be putting out to the residents of the senior housing community. So just to let you know, this will be on the next agenda. Thank you.
Great. Item F, marijuana facility.
Question?
Sure
Sorry.
can, I'm sorry.
Just about that really quick.
Go ahead.
Would this cover e-cigarettes and vaping? And if not, can we consider that? I don't know, just as technology advances, put that on the list of things to consider.
Yeah, because I know.
I don't know anything about whether secondhand smoke comes from that, but
They do still emit a smell. They emit some type of vapor. I don't know if there's any color in the vapor that could potentially like discolor walls or anything like that. So
Okay.
Definitely something that we will look to include.
I can honestly thought I'd never seen a senior vape, though.
Oh, I'm sure it's coming.
well, it's
will be
coming.
coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it will.
Wait for it.
And I want to do this policy once and do it
No,
right.
I get it, it's perfect. Great question.
8 and 9 have the definition of
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that, because it doesn't say it, so I thought it did, but just wanted to make sure that Don makes sure to consider that.
That's great. Item F, marijuana facilities update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't quite sure, I talked with Elaine a little bit about, did you want the full-on presentation from a couple of years ago? I don't think we want to dedicate an hour to that at, 9:30 on a long agenda night. So what I decided to do was kind of distill, I know, Mr. Mayor, I think it was you that mentioned just talking a little bit about the financial side of the industry right now, or the way it's, set up in Michigan right now. I put a few slides together, but just kind of decided, I brought it with me if we wanted to put it on the board, but I'll go through it rather than do that because it's pretty simplistic in its nature. And then you can tell me if this is helpful, if there's more information council would like next month or in the future on the whole thing. So by way of just some very quick background, so we don't do the full-on presentation, we do have medical marijuana in Michigan. We do have adult use, or what we all call recreational marijuana in Michigan. Very short caveat, it doesn't mean marijuana itself is legalized. What it means is there are certain amounts and certain things you can do with marijuana for which you won't get in trouble anymore. So it's a different way of looking at what it really means. But we all, I think, in common conversation say, marijuana is legal or legalized in Michigan. And to some extent, that's sort of true, but it's the lawyer in me says I have to correct that and say there are certain exemptions from getting in trouble that have been created by these new laws. But by way of financial sort of updates and what's going on in the state right now, our last count this past week or so, there are 260 what we'll call recreational use facilities in Michigan and 410 medical. And that doesn't mean they're all dispensaries. These can be transporters, processing labs, testing labs, grow operations, or dispensaries. There's usually about 5 different components to it, depending on what you call them under recreational or medical. As of in March of 2021, the state, actually we have a source online that reported that as of March, so it's a few months ago, we had record sales of $115.4 million worth of marijuana products and marijuana in the state of Michigan. Medical sales, according to the state's report, in July of 2021 were $2.7 million. And adult use sales in July of 2021 were $128.3 million. So about $131 million in July alone in sales of marijuana-related product, according to the state's July 2021 report. I wanted to look at a little bit for you, just we can't talk about these things in a vacuum, so we have to kind of talk about the bigger picture too. How many facilities right now are serving the residents of Fraser? I think that's relevant to the discussion. We found 111 recreational facilities within 50 miles, so it's a good drive if somebody needed to go 50 miles to get to one, but there's 111 of them within that 50. There are 115 medical facilities serving Fraser within 50 miles. 36 combination medical and recreational facilities within 50 miles. But if you want to get closer, if you want to know where our residents can go a little bit closer to home, there are 19 recreational facilities within 20 miles, and there are 58 medical facilities within 20 miles. We found 6 recreational facilities that will deliver the product to a resident of the city of Fraser. They never have to leave their home. It's like ordering a pizza. We also found 15 medical facilities that will do the same thing, as long as you have your medical card and qualify for medical purchase rather than recreational. We also found an interesting statistic
Don,
about...
can you just repeat that last one?
Yeah, which one?
Just the last
The
one.
delivery part? 15. There are 6 recreational and 15 medical facilities that will deliver product to residents of the city of Fraser if they order it online or over the phone. So I think it's safe to say the residents of Fraser, if they have a need for this product, it's pretty well covered. And we found an interesting statistic that I threw in there. Roughly 80% of people who live in our state live within a 20-minute drive of a licensed facility of some kind. So 20 minutes for almost anybody, for 80%, 8 out of 10 residents of our state. So maybe in the UP it's a little farther, but if you scaled that down to lower
Probably even
peninsula,
more. Probably closer.
yeah, maybe they're closer. But as a side note, when I was in the UP, the lawyers all told me they had to drive hours to get to court. Very different from what we're used to down here. So I don't know if that's the same for their their marijuana needs. On the topic of supply and demand, I made a few notes for you. Home growing continues to expand, and that's reducing the demand for commercial products. So what do I mean by that? I am very intimately aware of and constantly involved with home grow issues and initiatives in other areas, not Fraser so much. But I think I've reported to you before that home growing is a huge public safety and certainly fire problem in various communities around here. And it may even be a problem here. We just don't know yet. It hasn't been identified as a problem. We've seen explosions of transformers. We've seen illegal electrical hookups, plumbing hookups, water stealing, interior air conditioning versus outside air conditioner units, brownouts in neighborhoods. Home growing continues to be a huge, and we predicted this, and in all of my PowerPoints, if you go back over the years, we predicted it then. Home growing isn't going away, and the recreational law didn't make it any better because people can grow up to 12 plants in their house with really no oversight or consequence. So why not just grow 50 and sell the excess and not get caught, right? Pricing declined because of that, I think, at least in large part. 46% this past June compared to 1 year earlier. So that gives you a sense of it was pretty expensive a year ago, and it's decreased quite a bit, probably because you can still get it illegally rather than go to a licensed facility to get it. Studies have shown, and we put this in here from some of our research, people between the ages of 18 and 25, they don't like paying the extra tax on the recreational marijuana. So guess what? Guess what? They're going to buy it through the black market, right? That in turn increases demand for the black market operations. I'm not saying that's the principal audience. I'm just saying 18 to 25, they don't like to pay that extra tax. And Michigan continues to import and export marijuana from other states, which is creating significant demands on federal and local law enforcement agencies. I was sitting with an undercover officer just the other night, and he was telling me how unbelievable the demands are on the federal task forces of which he's a part of, and local law enforcement trying to chase the mess that all of these laws have created for them in terms of illegal transactions, amounts, financial, drug trade, cross state lines, through the mail. It's an incredible operation that I don't think most people would have any awareness of. if you just go through our day-to-day lives. But it's creating significant demands on law enforcement, and we predicted that would happen as well, especially because there are some states that it's still not allowed to be grown in. From a financial impact standpoint, provisioning centers, known as dispensaries to most of us, are required to pay a 6% sales tax. There was an excise fund that was created by the law that was expected to raise about $5 million for municipalities each year. The 10% excise tax that the dispensaries pay. In 2020, according to our research, communities received about $28,000 for each dispensary that they had from that tax.
That's it, huh?
That's it. If you thought this was, cities were going to solve their budget problems,
That's what I said.
we've never predicted that, and the stats are bearing that out. Communities can establish a fee, but it's capped at $5,000. So if we were to allow anything into the city, whether it's a transporter, a testing facility, or a dispensary or a grow operation, the most we can charge for that licensing privilege is $5,000. I think every community will tell you that doesn't even begin to cover the legal review, the planning review, the zoning issues, and everything else that goes into the planning to get to that point. And not to mention the law enforcement part of it. Communities can establish a $500 civil infraction penalty for people who violate, but $500 per civil infraction is like you and I going to buy a Slurpee at 7-Eleven for this industry. As the undercover officer was telling me, the money that these people have in this industry, legal and illegal, far outweighs and exceeds the harder drugs. He was telling me that the heroin traffic and the cocaine traffic, those people don't live the life that the marijuana traffickers are living. It's just, he said it's remarkable how you would think the opposite is true, and it's not. So a $500 civil infraction penalty, even if you start throwing them at them every day or several at a time, it's just a business expense. In 2020, Michigan's cannabis industry totaled $3.1 billion. But, wait for it, the retailers only reported sales of $1 billion.
Because it's cash. It's all
Where's
cash.
the $2.1 billion? That's estimated right now as unlawful transactions in the cannabis industry, 2.1 billion of the 3.1 billion. There's a driving impact. Again, you guys, I think, asked me to talk more about finances. This has a financial component to it. Michigan had 896 cannabinoid-involved vehicle crashes reported last year. That was up 73% from 2019. And 140% increase in crashes with marijuana use, 430% increase in injury crashes involving cannabis use, 640% increase in property damage accidents. The source for that is Michigan State Police Lieutenant Derek Carroll, who was talking about drug driving crashes since recreational marijuana became legalized in Michigan. Talk a little bit about grow houses, because there's a financial impact, of course, on the community that has to deal with them. The statute doesn't address caregivers. It recognizes they exist, but it excludes them from provisioning centers, which are the licensed dispensary type places. So these medical caregivers, as they're known, may give up their home grow for licensed operations someday at some point, but they just don't have the incentive to do that yet. They can provide products without much overhead, even though it's illegal for them to make a profit or sell it to more than 5 patients. Everyone knows it, right? There's no way it's a commercially viable enterprise to sell to 5 people and work out of a business for the storefront or have a commercial rent lease agreement. So for now, the black market continues to grow rather than recede, as we predicted, causing, as I've already indicated, neighborhood fires, brownouts, destruction of housing stock, odors, and many other consequences that municipalities now are struggling to deal with. Growers are continuing to illegally sell their excess across state lines where marijuana is not yet legal. And a patient card, as it used to be known, and still is known, is no longer necessary to procure marijuana-related products because we have the recreational law now. So the incentive to relocate out of homes continues to elude us. I don't know what the incentive would be for people to stop renting housing stock and using the basement as a giant grow operation. And when I tell you it's happening a lot, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them in just one neighboring community. The big picture, we have the equivalent of 3 industries in Michigan. Anyone can grow at home or obtain marijuana for free with or without a medical card. Anyone with a medical card can grow it, get it from a linked caregiver, or buy it at a medical provisioning center. And anyone can buy it from a marijuana retailer. So we have these 3 industries right now. remains to be seen where the statutory and legislative and governor's will be in terms of trying to consolidate those at some point and just make it one big industry or one big regulated area that helps municipalities with some of their issues. Some predictions. The black market is going to be worse in the short term because now anyone can grow it. Law enforcement is now almost helpless. It's difficult to monitor grow sizes, and county prosecutors aren't doing much to enforce this. There are many cases I could regale you with where the police find pounds and pounds, 50, 100 pounds of marijuana, and the prosecutor's offices just kind of say, well, we've got this legalized marijuana thing now. What do you want us to do? Even though they could do a lot. I think it's just not a priority anymore. Being in or out, opting in or opting out makes a little difference. Everyone has much easier access now. We may see medical eventually disappear and just all get folded into one thing, but then again, we may see medical become its own niche where there's higher doses or concentrations or higher regulations for people with true medical needs. It is still banned on school grounds, but we can't stop the use and possession at home or anywhere other than school property. Home deliveries, as I mentioned, are already happening. And free gifts, the law prohibits selling unless you are a licensed business, but free gifting is perfectly fine under the law. So give a free gift when you sell your famous cookies for, because they're grandma's recipe and it's $100 for those cookies, but you can get a free gift. Some final observations. It's more prevalent. There's much easier access. There are many lower consequences now for breaking the rules. Much harder for law enforcement to even catch someone breaking the rules or understand the rules. Odors are in public places and in neighborhoods, almost impossible to control. A couple years ago, I was in Denver for a school law conference. It was the 50th anniversary of a school law conference, and I could smell it just walking up and down the street of the hotel that we were at for the conference. And I've smelled it in my parents' neighborhood here in Fraser. There are less law enforcement tools. There are no roadside tests that exist yet. There aren't any per se nanogram levels yet in terms of showing intoxication or what it takes to be convicted of driving under the influence. There are higher community costs. Law enforcement has less support. More people are using and selling. Employers are struggling with the rules. Schools are struggling with policies in gray areas like CBD oil and creams. Cities and townships are struggling with facilities and uses that aren't otherwise allowed by zoning ordinances. The black market continues, shipping out of state, more access everywhere, limited law enforcement support and tools to deal with all of that. And then housing stock, right? That's, I think, my number one and the last thing on my final observations list. We're seeing so much interior damage, electrical, mechanical, mold, odors, power usage, air conditioners, generators, and they're usually in rental properties right in the middle of neighborhoods. It could be next door to all of us. So those are just, I guess, my observations and overview. Not a comprehensive picture, of course. I can certainly do that if you want to dedicate the time for it, but that's what I have for you tonight.
Thank you, Don. One other question. You mentioned opt out and opt in doesn't make a difference anymore. What do you mean by that statement? Before it was you had to take a stand.
Right.
The early days where we had to decide opt in or opt out. So
I think what I mean by that statement is it doesn't matter anymore in terms of accessibility and availability. It's everywhere. It can be delivered to your house. It doesn't matter if a city opts in or opts out anymore because the number that are out there now have the market. And I think the market's covered. I don't know if anyone would tell you that there's so much more demand that the market hasn't hit its peak yet. I mean, every one of these businesses is very, very well patronized from what I can tell. Now, there may be outliers, but or businesses that don't satisfy their customers' expectations. But, one report I saw the other day is that I think it was a Facebook review or a Yelp review or something of the one of the facilities in our area. Not sure if it was the one in Utica. Don't quote me on that. But
Utica's backed up.
Just backed up. Just
yeah,
traffic
absolutely. I've seen
backed
it.
up. Just people waiting and waiting and waiting to get in there to get their stuff, to get their products, whatever it may be. And it's not a judgment. It's just an observation that it creates a lot of municipal work. It creates legal work. It creates policing work. It creates fire work. It creates code work. It creates zoning and planning work. There is so much work that goes into it. And, the drafters of these statutes who weren't, it wasn't the legislature that did this. It was the drafters of the ballot initiatives. Whether they thought of it or not, I don't know if it was intentional, but they really could have done themselves a favor and made this so that municipalities can actually get their costs back if they decide to be part of this industry. And that isn't the case right now, even with the tax revenue sharing. So that's really the best I can offer you tonight, other than answer questions for you.
Well, it's a beginning process. I think Elaine's had some calls since she's been here. I know Mark Thompson did, but I've been receiving lots of calls.
And the planners have too.
Right, yeah, in the planners we have here, what's Fraser gonna do going forward? We have people who wanna invest in the city, and all this stuff, and, you know, obviously the line is, we've opted out. And that's a position of council now, and I don't know if that position's changed since we've done the review. I think it was like 4 years ago you did this?
My last update to you was in 2019.
19, so, yeah, almost 4 years ago then. We did all this work and made the decision to opt out, so, you know, we just wanted to bring it forward, and we've met with some business people who were interested, and, but we wanted to at least get the conversation going with council to see, is there a position change, or what their position is anyway going forward, so.
And I can tell you this, if council's will were to start studying the issue more, I think one of the first steps has to be legal and planning. And it's a big investment, right? Once we start moving down that direction, we're looking at ordinance options. You know, what do we want it to look like in the city of Fraser? Do we want it to be zoning overlays? Do we want to actually zone it somewhere? Do we want to decide which kinds of operations are we comfortable with versus which aren't we comfortable with, and where would we put them in the city? What would the process look like in terms of applicants? We saw the city of Warren get sued, and you can imagine that cost to the city for trying to deal with the litigation that resulted from their process, for trying to select from those who were interested. From a planning perspective, you know, they'd have to evaluate the entire community and the master plan, and probably have to go through the planning commission process. So there'd be a lot of public discussion. It's just a big undertaking, but if the council, you know, feels that at some point it's worthwhile, then that's the investment you make. You make the investment in that undertaking, knowing you won't recover it, but maybe long-term, you know, there's something there in terms of redevelopment of properties, or, you know, limited trickles of funds coming in from the tax sharing. Over time, perhaps, maybe, you know, it starts to make up for some of it. I don't know. We don't have a long-term picture yet.
Okay. So maybe we'll ask you to come back with more information, or we'll decide, but get the feeling of council, and I believe there's some people here who just wanted to talk and citizen participation. And
Sure. And certainly it wouldn't hurt to hear from public safety, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm just the lawyer.
Absolutely.
All I can tell you is what I see and hear. They can tell you what it's like being out there.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, I'd be lying if I said we haven't been on a fire that was caused by this, so, you know, it's happened, so. Councilwoman Suzanne Colca.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of things. I think we should explore it. It's coming, it's here. I mean, we should explore it. John.
The door of death.
Sorry. I think we should explore it. It's coming, it's here. You know, I think that's only fair. And, you know, I think if we do it right, you know, then we take our time and we do it right. We have a really great council up here that really works very hard and is incredibly thorough, I think, more thorough than a lot of, yeah, I'll just say more thorough than, yeah. And so I think that, you know, with 7 heads and an amazing attorney and a fabulous city manager, I think, you know, we should, and I don't want to take anything away from our outstanding public safety department. I think, you know, we should be able to come up with a really great plan, or something that we can at least kind of navigate. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. Once we have all the pieces, once we start exploring this, then fine too. But I think just based on kind of how things are going, the research that's coming out with regard to the benefits from a medical standpoint and even a recreational standpoint, as long as you're not an addict. You know, but that's with anything. You can be an addict and be an alcoholic. So I think that it's just going to need. I think it's only fair that we explore it more.
Councilwoman Baranski.
I just missed, can you restate I get the benefits both from the the customer service perspective and the redevelopment of properties that are currently underutilized or not utilized at all. But you gave us a couple of monetary, and I know they were low, but how much would we expect to make if we did allow it here? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's not an easy answer to give. The statistic we found for the past years, per dispensary, 28,000.
Per dispensary, 28,000 to the local.
To the locals was the average last year.
Plus a $5,000 fee.
Plus, we get a $5,000 application fee once we get to an application point.
Right.
So it's one fee if we only have one spot for them to go. But yeah, 5,000 per potential location that applies to be part of the city. Then there's supposed to be some sort of not profit sharing, but there's another fund that they're supposed to be sharing out of too. I don't have that statistic in terms of whether or not it's much money, but it's for the other facilities. You know, when you have a growing or a testing or a processing or a transporting facility, there's supposed to be some sharing of that. I didn't drill down into that for this presentation.
And I thought there was also a yearly thing that you do every year that there's a fee for that the cities either check on it or it's a re-application fee or every year that it comes up or.
Probably be on ordinances.
I mean, yeah, in theory, you could have a renewal. You could make it an annual
That's what
license.
Utica, I talked to someone in Utica and that's what they were doing. It's like every year these places have to come forward and redo the
Yeah.
work and. what-
And no one that I know of has challenged that yet, because again, it's $5,000. That doesn't even show
Yeah,
up on the
it's-
book. I mean,
Right, it's nothing.
it's nothing.
Right.
Well, and that was going to be my second question. Did you play any role with Utica? I think Utica's the only local municipality that has a public dispensary. Did you play any role or no?
I did not. No, one of my colleagues at the office would be able to speak to that, but I was not involved.
Okay, but you okay? Thank you.
Yeah, there's two of them, I think, and they're only about a couple hundred yards from each other in Utica. Two or three of them.
Well, Utica just has the one on Van Dyke. It's kind of that piece of Utica that sticks into that. I think one might be
Sterling Heights,
medical,
it's
one.
just south of
I don't
Hall
even know
Road.
much
Yeah,
about it.
well, mine's on the other side of the sign, that's right. So it's-
But if you notice, Utica was very strategic. They put it on the south of Hall Road to make it look like it's in Sterling Heights.
no, that's where it could be, so.
Everyone thinks it's Sterling Heights. It's not. It's City of Utica.
Councilman Lessig.
Yes, Centerline was started out as medical. They've been kind of on the forefront of this for at least 5-6 years. And they, according to their city manager, the revenue they're seeing is from brand-new construction, not the licensing fees and that are, as you said, don't hardly cover the cost, if at all. But it's really been the property taxes from new buildings that are constructed on perhaps a vacant industrial parking lot and things like that. So I don't know how much of that we have. So recreational is Centerline, Ferndale, Hazel Park. East Point is looking at medical, but I just was at the macro meeting today, and Elkie Doom said that that's been sitting around for a year, and they can't seem to get off the dime on that one. And Utica, of course. And everyone has started out promising to only do medical because of the adult use ballot proposal, that excise tax went away, and so they are all moving to recreational because that's the only way to make any money for a municipality on that. So I did actually, at the MML, I went to a couple sessions with Andrew Brisboe, the director of MRA, and he's for a straight-laced guy that looks like he's straight out of the FBI, he's very, very conversational about the whole industry, and he's very realistic about it. And I think they've done a good job of creating an infrastructure, regulatory infrastructure to manage it. But it's how do municipalities make money, or, generate additional revenue, because making money is a lot harder if you have compliance and enforcement issues, planning, zoning, and all those other things. So, but it is here. And as you said, we can get a Domino's pizza delivered along with our.
Yeah, you need them both, yeah, for
Dime
sure.
bag.
Did Centerline tell you how much they've generated with? Did they give you any kind of estimate in terms of what they've realized?
Well, I take it with a grain of salt.
Fair.
But in terms of property tax revenue, they were looking at about $500,000
A year?
But they went all in with 75 licenses, 15 of each.
Whoa.
And
In one
I don't think they're doing all of those all at once, but it's only in the industrial
Yeah, they have
park.
an industrial section.
It's only in the industrial park. You can see one along 696, and there's one right there on the service drive.
Okay, thank you.
So it's on the west side of Centerline. So if you drive around there, you can just stop in and check it out. Anyway, that's what I know about it.
Okay.
Someday it'll be here at 7-Eleven.
Well, maybe we could do it on the next subject, which is the Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen property update. I know, Don, you don't, but I had to get an update because it's just,
I
I
know.
drove by it the other day and the weeds were, again,
Day.
We were so very hopeful after our last update for you that the owner's plan to demolish it would come to fruition. We received an update today or yesterday that he has changed his mind about the demolition and would now like to submit a redevelopment plan for a 2-story structure.
that's what they did before.
So that's where it sits as of today. The update was, September, October would be the date that they would start presenting that plan to planning. So we may or may not see that plan come to fruition. And obviously, if you zoned only one spot in the whole city for marijuana, that property value would skyrocket for him, and you would get it redeveloped pretty quick. But I'm not suggesting that.
7-story building.
Yeah, the Taj Mahal of Fraser. But that's one way to solve the Dairy Queen. But other than that, no, he's apparently got a new plan for redevelopment, and we'll be seeing that, we're told, in the next month and a half.
Well, I got a feeling the 2030 council will still be dealing with it.
Right.
Councilwoman Shornack.
Okay, so what happened with that reverter clause? Because didn't he have a specific amount of time he was supposed to get off the dime? And
Yes.
since then he came through with this, and now what are we gonna, this like is gonna be an inevitable delay forever?
We have a very strong legal argument that he's in breach,
Let's go then.
but it's not perfect. And we know it has some risk. So if the city council were to authorize me to pursue that litigation, we would have that expense without a guarantee of success because of the way it was written. If you remember, that reverter clause was not handled well and didn't make it into an actual deed or contract.
I'd like to, I don't know what it is, but this should not be discussed any further in
Yeah,
public.
that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll email you.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know what the phrase would be, but.
I know.
Yes, we can do a legal update later. if you'd like.
Call it whatever, point of order, I don't know.
Got that hat on again.
Sorry, the lawyer just came out and said,
Item 10, a report of mayor and city council, and I will start.
You're not gonna
What
do
about,
the emergency COVID?
Oh,
state
I'm sorry.
emergency update?
It's nothing to update.
Status quo.
That's still for the rest of the year, we said, so.
Then it can be taken off, I suppose.
Go ahead.
didn't we already agree that this was going to be extended to the end of the year anyway?
Yes.
yeah.
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 It's probably a good idea.
I didn't know if this was going to be something where you were going to give us information. You had talked about, I don't know if you were revising policies or dealing with policies as the employees were getting COVID, or what was going to be done with, masks and vaccinations and all of that kind of stuff. And that's still a work in progress from your perspective.
Put together a FAQ for office for that, and she sent it out to all the staff. Sorry. Amy Sal put together a FAQ for all of staff and sent it out either yesterday or the day before. So that was just really a matter of point of letting everyone know what the policies are and making sure we're all on the same page.
Excellent, thank you.
We can provide council a copy of that so you guys have it as well.
That'd be perfect. Yeah, because I don't know what the policy is, so that'd be perfect.
Okay, report of mayor and city council, Ms. Baranski.
I have nothing.
Councilman Lessig.
Thank you. Welcome, Cynthia Greenia. Okay, welcome to Fraser. I look forward to your fine work. It's been a lot talked about tonight. I would like to advance lighting and sound. We've been waiting almost at least a year for that to be finished, and you're not receiving any return calls from them. Can we have Mr. Denault write a strongly worded letter or something to, because, well, we haven't paid them for everything, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I would like to find out if we're waiting for them or we give up on them and go find the rest of this equipment, because it was funded through the county COVID money last year. I don't want to see us lose that opportunity if it makes sense. So, but I've heard that we have not responding to us at all. And I would like to see this get all up to date and working all regularly. As far as meeting management goes, the communications assistant would be working on managing these meetings in the future, the hybrid Zoom
Manning the Zoom desk.
and the man in the Zoom corner, he could go back to his regular job of protecting us. That would be great. I think that is about all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Shornick.
Okay, I have a couple things. First, the Historical Commission will be having their barn sale this Sunday, the 12th, from 1 to 4. They are also having a society meeting for anybody who wants to join the Historical Society on the 14th at 1 p.m. Also, while they're having their barn sale from 1 to 4, there are tours available for anybody who's not been to the museum. So definitely go there. I just want to, I know, and I'm sure everybody knows this anyway, but, you know, the 20th, and I can't believe it's been 20 years since 9/11. I'm sure all of us can remember exactly what we were doing. I know I can. So, you know, just kind of keep in mind all those who sacrificed, if you will, not knowingly, and some knowingly, their lives to that horrible tragedy. The Goodfellows are having a golf outing for all those people who like to golf. So I know they have a Facebook page, Fraser Goodfellows. So anybody interested, they're still looking for golfers.
September 18th.
Yep, it's September, sorry. Oh, it is September 18th, actually. Oh, and then you can come to the food truck thing. Yay, super fun. I know that we've talked about this tree issue, so I'm 100% on board with you with the whole thing, and I know Mark Ragsdale's got like a million things on his plate right now but I know that when the leaf pickup starts, we always put like a schedule out there, like this is when they'll be in your neighborhood to do the street sweeping, or this is when they're going to be in your neighborhood to do the leaf pickup. I really think, because now I'm getting all sorts of people asking me about tree trimming. And I was trimming my own tree, and Mark's like, you know, that's the city's tree. I'm like, yeah, that's good. I just trim it my doggone self, because it's just, I know they're overwhelmed, but there's other people who can't, number one, do it themselves and or can't afford to have somebody do it, and they are our trees. So I think we need to get a schedule together of when they can go out. I mean, again, I understand it's not a priority, but we need to start looking at that moving forward, especially with all the storms we've had, because even though I've trimmed my tree an immense amount, every single time it storms, I'm picking up branches for quite a long time. I think a lot of residents would be happy with a tree trimming schedule. I know we probably can't do anything about this, but the sign at Meyer on 15 in Utica, that thing is atrocious. I mean, I can't even believe Meyer wants it out there. It's peeling. You can't even barely read Meyer on it anymore. It's kind of an eyesore. And since it's like right on the corner of when you enter in Fraser, if we could just maybe reach out to Meyer and ask them if they have any plans on replacing that sign anytime soon, because it really looks bad. Oh, and can we also get a list of what we can and cannot fund with the COVID money? I'm sure we all have lots of ideas we think could do great things for the city and the residents.
Yeah, we're looking at that.
Yeah, but so we know, you know, what we're allowed to spend that money on and not allowed to spend it on before we all come up with our own ideas, and it's a big waste of time. And also, if we can, with that COVID money, can we please, for all that is good and holy, since we can't fix the heating and cooling in this building, can we get new chairs? Because these are 20 years old and they are god-awful uncomfortable. And when we go for marathon meetings, I don't think that's a huge expense. And I'm sure whoever will be here in the future would probably appreciate that, and the commissions that sit here, because these chairs are really uncomfortable. And I think that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Winawiki.
I'm going to be really quick. Welcome, Cynthia. Elaine, thank you for fixing that. We call it the roly-poly sign? Okay, the roly-poly sign. I did notice it when I turned in to come to the meeting today, so thank you. And that's about all I've got.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, food truck rally, don't forget. Be there.
After you go off.
I don't go.
Councilwoman Blanky.
Thank you. I just want to build on, of course, what Councilwoman Shornack said. Of course, we realize it's 9/11. It's been publicized. I kind of, as you get older, you have a different process, how you think and whatever, but I keep trying to think, I know where I was that day, but now it's 20 years later. What have I done with my life in 20 years? What has occurred? We could all ask ourselves the same question. Unfortunately, you realize that human nature and life repeats itself, and the only thing obvious is change. But I see in our community, there's a lot of people on Facebook or the internet or whatever, and I sure wouldn't want to run in the climate that I'm seeing with what has changed in 20 years. This internet, this attitude where, something that is very hard to deal with because it's real easy to sit at home and basically judge other people, demand things from other people, use words, that hurt people's feelings. And I guess after 20 years, I go back and I think it's a shame. It's just like with this 9/11, just like this Taliban, just like the whole situation. Where are we? We're not much better off than we were 20 years, except a lot of people died, injured, maimed. So in 20 years that this internet has taken a step, I guess what I'm suggesting is that everybody use it for the improvement of people, kindness more than judging, more than hiding behind it and using it for derogatory, hateful reasons, because it proves nothing. And I think that it takes more virtue, more nobility, and you're more courageous to try to be kind to people than to be overpowering with people. And that being said, I would like to thank you for sticking with us, and I would like to wish you a good month, and we'll see you next month. God bless you. God bless America.
Thank you. Councilwoman Suzanne Coca.
Thank you. So, first and foremost, the farmer's market is this Saturday from 9 to 1. Please come out. There's only one more left, I believe, in October, so please come on out. I know that Dana Sutherland has been featuring businesses on the internet for weeks now, actually, the last couple of weeks. So there's a lot of different businesses that will be there. And I think it's important that if you live here, or even if you don't live here, that you come on out, support our community, and, see what we got to offer. She's put a lot of work into it. Nancy Berube started it, and Nancy did an excellent job, and it was very easy transition because of the excellent work that Nancy did. So I appreciate everything that Dana has done this year as it relates to the transition, because I know it hasn't been easy. And I can appreciate, I would appreciate if you guys could come out and come to the farmer's market. The other thing that I wanted to just say is, 9/11, when 9/11 hit, it brought this community, it brought this world, the United States together. And one of the things that I have noticed is that specifically lately, in the last probably 5 months, is just how divided the city is. And it's really too bad. We should be working together, not against each other. And so I am going to tell you that I'm not going to be communicating anymore on Facebook because it isn't good for me and it isn't good for this city. If you want to know what I think and you care about what I think and you want my opinion, then you should call me up. My phone number is 248-321-4514. I'm not going to engage in the nonsense on Facebook anymore because that's what it is. It's nonsense. And Ms. Blanky said it right. It's ugly words, it's ugly, and I am going to say I probably said some things that weren't exactly great, but what I said, you know, I'm very passionate about this city, and I was very 100% committed, emotionally 100% committed to come in here and work hard to get this city the way that the people who I knocked on their doors said they wanted it. Now that we've done that, and we've had to basically re-overhaul everything in this city, all of a sudden that's not what anybody wants anymore. So it's very shocking to me that there is all this angst out there. So I have done what I said I was gonna do. I have not faltered from that. My anger is directed towards the fact that the people that I should have been able to trust in my city administration, I had problems with. They were not being truthful to us. We had to overhaul, and I'm not sorry for saying that. I've got proof of it. They were not truthful. They let you down. That's why they're not here. And that's why I'm angry. That's the only reason I'm angry. Because I was not given the right information. And most of us up here will tell you the same. And we were strong enough to make the determination that we needed change, regardless of our relationships with these people, regardless of the fact that maybe some of them were our friends, because they were manipulating us. Your taxpayer dollars, they were manipulating, and that's not right. And that's why I'm angry. And if you think I'm a lunatic, too bad. I care about this city. I always have. And I will continue to care about this city, no matter what. So if the people don't want that, then that's fine. But I will always do what I think is right for this city, no matter what. Because this is what I signed up for. That's the lawyer in me, to be objective, to give a care. Because I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I am a very busy person outside of this job, and it pays $3,700 a year. Okay, both of my girls are going to private school. If you think I need the money, I don't. I don't do it for the status. I don't do it for nothing. But the fact that I care, and I would think that if anybody has any issues with me that are legitimate, they would call me up and talk to me. I don't want nonsense. I want real questions from people who really have real questions, not trying to bait me or get me angry or any of that other stuff. Because I am passionate, and I'm not afraid of that, and I'm not embarrassed to say it. And I'm not embarrassed to shed tears when I have to lay off 8 police officers. I'm not embarrassed to cry because I had to close down Sarisa. I'm not embarrassed. And I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to do what I think is right for this city, no matter what. No matter what. But I won't be on Facebook anymore. The other things I wanted to say is it's been really nice to be able to come up here and have some fun, because the last 2 years, 2.5 years, have been very difficult. So thank you to my fellow colleagues for all of your hard work. I really, truly appreciate everything that everybody up here has done. We all have a specific skill set, wheelhouse, and I appreciate every single one of you and everything you bring to the table. We don't always get along. That is very true. But we work very well together. And I think that the administration that we have brought in are doing a fantastic job. You already heard Mark Ragsdale say all the things that were not wrong, but all the certifications except the CPR were out of date. I mean, that's crazy to me. I mean, that's just one of the issues. So, and the things that he has done, he's hit the ground running. He's been here 5 months, and he has done an outstanding job. It's the way it should be. This is the way the city should be run. Right now, the reason everybody's running around with a chicken with her head cut off is because nothing was done for so long. I mean, it's just boggles my mind. Oh, last thing, the food truck rally, please come. This is the rebirth of Fraser. It is moving us in the right direction. Christine Cook, I cannot say enough about what you have done. This has been fantastic. Thank you for working with council. Thank you for all of your hard work. We truly, truly appreciate it. And that is it. Have a nice month.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one quick update. I forgot. I was at the East Point Roseville Chamber Board of Directors meeting today, and one of the things on the agenda was consideration of a donation for the Zip Cruise zip line at McKinley Park. And they shocked me. They are donating $1,000 towards the Zip Cruise Community Challenge. So I'd like to thank the East Point Roseville Chamber for their support, and so far we have over $3,000 towards that $12,000 community challenge, at least, and we're looking forward to continuing that challenge. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a good segue, Mike, because if you guys want to set up a table at the open house, you're more than welcome to do that. But just a reminder that our firefighters 33rd open house is October 2nd. We're going to do as much stuff as we can. We're going to continue on with a raffle to kids to win a ride to school with a fire truck, squirt the hoses, trucks. The history of the department is going to be on display. I'm working on a kind of a special project. Hopefully it comes through that I'm sure everybody would really enjoy. So I'm not going to let it out yet because it's not confirmed, but if it works out, the candy drop will be something totally different this year. So that's on October 2nd. Oh, yes, and we will top 50,000 hot dogs during this event. So
Hope so.
if we get rid of all of them, that will be over 50,000 hot dogs. Yes. 9/11 ceremonies, the Macomb County, again, is having theirs Saturday at the Memorial downtown. Mount Clemens, our honor guard will be posting the colors again for that ceremony. So everybody's welcome to join that. Following weekend, we have actually the State Firefighters Memorial because of COVID. So this year, we're actually putting 227 firefighters on the wall who died over the last 2 years. That goes on the wall for the memorial. There's 3 line of duties, and these are guys who served over 10 years in the fire service. And as they die, if you serve 10 years, Michigan has a memorial wall for those gentlemen who served 10 years or more. If you pass away, then the family can put you on that wall. But 200 of them is going to be a lot. I went to the Hanover Grove 50th anniversary party. It was very, very good. I didn't say much, but I did promise I would go on their, they call it splash pad. Well, I have a tape if you want to see it, but I did get
I'm a little
about
offended, Don. We started there.
100 gallons of water went on me from all the way up in the air, so.
You were a dignitary, weren't you?
Yes, I was a dignitary. So it was a lot of fun. They did a great job, and congratulate them for such a good partner in our city. 50 years they've done it. Next meeting in October, I will not be here. I have a major surgery that day, so I will be incapacitated for about 4 weeks. So Mr. Winowicki will take charge of that meeting for me, and I will hopefully talk to you the following meeting. Everything goes well. And I will update Elaine as we go forward with that stuff. Otherwise, that is it. And thank you all for sticking around, and I hope to see everybody at these great events. The truck rally, the open house, there's really great events to attend, so hopefully we see everybody there. Okay, at this time, I will call citizen participation. Anybody who would like to come up and discuss anything we discussed tonight? Chief, please identify yourself, sit down, have a seat. Try to get through as much as you can.
45 years. I've been here in the city of Fraser.
All right, sit down, Terry. You sit down.
Oh, wait, no big deal.
Okay, I'll sit down.
Yeah, get comfortable.
If you say so.
Get comfortable.
I've been serving the community for 45 years, and I think whatever, I love City of Fraser, and I'm getting old, but I like to do much I can for Fraser, long as I am alive. But I'll give the speech to my lawyer. He knows my words. He's gonna do that for me.
Okay. I won't count your time against his time. How's that?
I let him sit in my place and I want.
Okay, just please,
Do something wrong, I'll punch him.
Thank you, Mr. Denko.
just identify yourself for the record, please.
Attorney Robert A. Pyrano, I represent Mr. Deco. Everyone, thank you for your service. It was a pleasure watching tonight, and I identify with the things that you said.
Thank you.
I know your job is very difficult. Thank you. Mr. Deco and I have been looking into the Medical Marijuana Facilities Act and have been interested in potential opportunities in the city, so he asked me to do some research, and I wanted to present some information. I think the city attorney for... Yeah, of course. Can you hear me better now? Okay. We wanted to present some of the information that we found. Specifically, the Cato Institute, which is a Washington libertarian think tank established in 1974, they issued a report February 2nd, 2021 about the impacts of marijuana licensing across the United States. Supporters and critics make numerous claims about state-level marijuana legislation. Specifically, advocates suggest that legalization reduces crime, raises tax revenue, lowers criminal justice expenditures, improves public health, increases traffic safety, stimulates the economy. Persons who are adverse to it all argue that legalization spurs marijuana and other drug or alcohol use, increases crime, diminishes traffic safety, harms public health, and lowers teen educational achievement, amongst other adverse effects. They had done a study a few years prior, which concluded that the strong claims made by both sides actually substantially overstated the impact without real-world support. At the time, their data showed that state-level legislation actually had generally minor effects. One notable exception was the increase in state tax revenue from legalized marijuana sales. States with legal marijuana markets have collected millions of dollars in state tax revenues. Data so far, bringing things up to date, also provides little support for those strong claims about legalization made by either opponents or supporters. Notable exception, again, being the tax revenue, which has exceeded some of the expectations. Now, one of the things I want to talk about specifically pertaining to Michigan, Detroit Metro Times published on November 30th, 2020, recreational sales reached $440 million in the first year, generating $73 million in excise and sales taxes from the 191 recreational dispensaries. Unlike medical cannabis, as the city attorney mentioned, that 10% excise tax is actually split across the state, which you do not receive from medical facilities. That resulted in each city recognizing $28,000 per facility that they had. Now, one of the big things that translated into, specifically in Lansing, they had 10 of these facilities. They received $280,000, but they saw an increase of 2,400 jobs created last year by this. Additionally, they had investments of $85 million in purchasing and improving property in Lansing as a result of this. So the numbers don't lie here. The cities that are opting into this, they're seeing substantial increases in investment in the community. And the biggest thing that we don't have clear data on right now is all of those jobs that are created, all of the money that those people will bring in, as well as increases in property values, what does that translate into in money that will flow through the community? We think it's something that does merit more research, and as it's been said, it's an inevitability. It's here. One of the things I did want to note was he focused a lot during what he was saying about the adverse effects that we're seeing from the medical marijuana program with caregivers, patient model. None of those things are part of the Facilities Licensing Act. There are a lot of adverse effects that we are dealing with in this state as a result of illegal grows and people who are growing on their own. What we're talking about here is implementation of a commercial system where people are licensed and vetted to determine whether or not these are quality people to actually be acting in your community. So we hope that you take the time to consider this, investigate more, and revisit this issue with that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're able to do the best we can for Fraser,
Yes, I know
Yes, you
will.
have. Thank you. You have done
I will.
amazing.
and I will.
Yes.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you.
guys all.
Thank you.
How long have I known you?
I know you long enough.
Okay.
At least
I don't
34
wanna
years.
put the time.
Thank you, Terry.
I'm gonna be on touch.
Okay.
Good night. Thank you.
I know.
Anybody else in the audience? Anybody else?
He's so great.
He's always.
Laura Lessig, 15201 Fairview. I want to talk about this community. I'm a Fraser lifer, basically. They call me a Fraser. I am a Fraser. And the community that we live in today is not what we had in the past. It is, as Ms. Kalka has mentioned, divided. And I believe a lot of it has to do with the way this council approached the city administration. I believe majority of the people that left this administration were good people, and they knew how to appreciate this city and its residents and the services that we were to provide. I believe this council caused majority of the litigation that could have been avoided, and I do not agree with the way that we have brought on the new administration and the process in which they have done it. I believe we have a long way to go, and I hope this council and the new people coming in know what this community needs, what the services that we need, what we need to do for our seniors, as this gentleman has just been here. We have basically abandoned them in any activities for them, which the Parks and Rec Commission has been talking for a while on trying to get something up and running for them. It's unfair. It's not right. I will move on to the park updates. I think that they came out pretty well. I'll give you a 75% attaboy there. I'm disappointed in the Meadows Park. I have a 2.5-year-old grandson who's a daredevil, and the equipment there is not conducive for him. Oh yeah, it does say for 5 to 12-year-olds. Well, he can't go on a slide in that park. The other parks, we've gone to all the other parks, and there's stairs for the slides. So I think it would have been a good move for the administration, or I'm sorry, the council, in their quest to quickly put a park together in these other parks, that they would have discussed it with not only the Parks and Rec Commission and not come up with their own little committee to come up with the equipment, but the neighbors around. I was there at Meadows Park with other grandparents and their children, and we were frustrated with the fact that these kids could not use the slides unless we were barely, trying to follow them up the ropes or up the mountain climbing thing, whatever. It's dangerous. The other parks in our city have both. Somerset Park has an area for the toddlers that has a slide. So does Pompo Park. The park, or the equipment in Boris, is conducive for all ages. So Meadows Park, I'm disappointed. And I would appreciate that in the future, when you start talking about adding more stuff to the parks or updating or doing anything, you really talk to the community on what they want, not just throw out something there just because the colors look good. So that's what I want to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I see none. Nobody online? Okay, I'll call it back. Need a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye.
Have a good night.